All right, Q&A, question and answer according to the Bible. Who am I? Take your first swing.
Could you explain why we're supposed to keep our heads covered?
Okay. All right. So the first question, what's your name again, sis?
Ashley.
Miss Ashley. All right. So the first question we have is you said we live right now? Let's see. Yeah.
Sir.
No. Let's see. Okay, I got you. All right, so question is pertaining to the head covering. Why sisters have to have their heads covered? All right, let's go over on 1 Corinthians chapter 11. Or it might be 10, whichever one I see. 1 Corinthians. And the reason why we sisters to cover their heads is because, the head represents power. Who you represent, the power, who you having power from, these angels that are locked in the chains of darkness. So, the head covering is also representing of you being in subject to God. And you see in most traditions or customs or religion, they deal with head covering, but that's something else. But according to the Bible, we're going to read is that, there was an order set up, an order that was established, and we feel to read it right here pertaining to the order that was established after, what took place in the Garden of God. So 1 Corinthians chapter 11, and let's pick it up at verse 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 1. Will you get it? Go ahead and read it, brother.
Be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Christ.
And again, if I'm moving a little too swift, just be like, hey, you need to slow down, or you know what I mean? But so like Paul opened up and he said, be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Christ. Go ahead.
Now I praise you, brethren, that ye remember me in all things, and keep the ordinance as I deliver them to you.
So now as we read this, we're going to realize this is an ordinance. So like Paul is saying, keep the ordinances that I deliver unto you. Go ahead.
But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ.
Go ahead.
And the head of the woman is the man.
Go ahead.
And the head of Christ is God.
So we have the head of Christ being God the Father. Then we have the head of man being Christ. But then it also said what? The head of the woman is the man. So we're looking at God being the head of Christ. We're looking at Christ being the head of man. We're looking at man being the head of the woman. What it say in verse 4 though?
Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head.
So what we're doing right now is we are prophesying because we reading what the scriptures are saying. So like Paul is letting you know is that every man that prayed or prophesying, even when we opened up and faced Jerusalem, we was praying. And right before that, I was saying, men, uncover your heads, women, cover your heads. Because now we see Paul saying, guess what? If a man is doing this with his head covered, he dishonored Christ. Because that's our head covered. But keep going on.
But every woman that prayeth or prophesieth with her head uncovered dishonoreth her head.
Go ahead.
For that is even all one as if she were shaven.
Now we see is that now we get into the woman. And if the woman praying or prophesying with her head uncovered, she's dishonoring her head, which is her husband. Well, guess what? If she ain't got a husband, her head covering is going to be Christ. she's still dishonoring her head however she look at it. She is to remain with her head covered as she's praying or prophesying. But then Paul also, he just was being a little sarcastic with the shaving her head because, like, you're not going to shave your hair, are you? Right, exactly. So Paul, he just, being a little sarcasm behind the fact of like, guess what? It's like all as if you were shaving your head. But we know you ain't gonna shave your head. So in other words, just cover your head. But keep reading on verse 6.
For if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn.
Go ahead.
But if it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered.
Exactly. So he's like, if it's dishonor for you to shave or cut your hair off, then like put a head cover. That's what he's getting at. But go ahead, keep reading, verse 7.
For a man indeed ought not to cover his head,
Go ahead.
for as much as he is the image of and glory of God.
Now, man is the image and glory of God, not the woman. You know what I mean? Like the woman was taken from the man, and then the woman was now a helpmeet for the man. But God is the one that formed man from the dirt, who is the image and glory of God. So it says, so man indeed ought not to cover his head, because he is the image and glory of God. Go ahead.
But the woman is the glory of the man.
So my wife is my glory. You know what I mean? Like she's the glory for me because that's my wife. At the same time, it's looking at how Adam and Eve were, is that now Adam had this rib taken from his body, and now you have Eve. Well, that would be his glory, as well as my wife being my glory. But what is it in verse 8 though?
For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man.
Go ahead.
Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man.
So the woman was created for the man, not the man for the woman. What is it in verse 10?
For this caused the woman to have power on her head because of the angels.
So because of the angels is the reason why this woman needs to have this power on her head. Because now, as we saw the order, we see is that the order is Christ has a head covering, which is God. But now my head covering is Jesus. Well, I'm not going to have a head covering on my head when I'm praying and prophesying because now I'm dishonoring Christ. But now the woman, she needs to be submissive to her husband by putting a head covering on her head. But guess what? If she don't have a husband, she still needs to put a head covering on her head because she married to Christ. But now this head covering represents power, because this head covering is showing these angels that now you got power on your head, which is some form of understanding. What I mean by that, let's go over to this numbers real quick. Nah, but let's keep reading it though. Let's keep reading. Skip down to keep reading though, verse 11. Yeah.
Nevertheless, neither is the man without the woman, neither the woman without the man in the Lord.
Go ahead.
For as the woman is of the man, even so is the man also by the woman. But all things are of God.
Skip down to read 13.
Judge in yourselves, is it comely that a woman pray unto God uncovered?
Go ahead.
Doeth not even nature itself teach you that if a man have long hair, it is a shame unto him?
So now, some people sometimes they come here and they look at this as if like, well, why can't the hair on a woman be a hair cover? You know what I mean? Because that would be a legitimate question. So Paul is going to actually answer that question as well, all in one. Letting you know, and then when we go to Numbers chapter 5, we're going to see is that it was a physical head covering, not the hair. So Paul is going to, even answer the question along the lines as to, nah, your physical hair is not good enough for your head covering. So now Paul letting you know is that like don't even by nature, because nature naturally, it tells you that men that have long hair, what is it? It's a shame for a man to have long hair. Now that's by nature. Not saying that's what God is saying. Paul is letting you know by nature it is shameful for a man to have long hair. What it says in verse 15 though.
But if a woman have long hair, it is a glory to her.
Exactly. So I just asked you a question, shoot, you gonna shave your hair? You was like, heck nah. You know what I mean? Because that's your glory. Not saying there's anything wrong with that. You know what I mean? If you like your hair, just like my wife. My wife got long hair as well, and I always be like, you should dread it up. She'd be like, you crazy? You know what I mean? So in other words, that's her glory. She like her long hair. So in other words, Paul is letting you know is that like But if a woman has long hair, it is a glory to her. Go ahead.
For her hair is given her for a covering.
So her hair is given her for a cover, not a hair cover. But keep reading though, verse 16.
But if any man seem to be contentious, we have no such custom, neither the churches of God.
So the customs that we don't have is pertaining to having long hair being shameful. You know what I mean? Because by nature, they tell you that, oh, a man having long hair, that's a shame. You know what I mean? But nah, Paul is letting you know is by such, if a man is contention, like we don't have those customs of the church. Meaning if a brother want to come in with long hair, hey, okay, it's not shameful in our eyes. You know what I mean? If a woman like her hair to be long and that's her glory, okay, that's her glory. It's not shameful in the eyes of the churches because we don't have those customs. The world teaches you those customs. But Paul is letting you know is that you do need a physical head covering on your head. Let's go over to this Numbers chapter 5 real quick. Numbers chapter 5, and we're gonna pick it up at verse 11. Numbers chapter 5, and let's pick it up at chapter 11. I mean verse 11. When you get it, go ahead and read it.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying,
Go ahead.
Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, if any man's wife go aside and commit a trespass against him.
So now the Lord is speaking to Moses, letting him know about how you're supposed to deal with, you know, if a man's wife go aside and commit a trespass, meaning like go aside and commit adultery or sleep with another man. So this is how you're supposed to deal with that. What it says in verse 13.
And a man lie with her carnally, and it be hid from the eyes of her husband, and be kept closed, and she be defiled, and there be no witnesses against her, neither she be taken with the man.
So she don't did this in secret. You know what I mean? Like she don't went behind her husband back, don't slept with the next door neighbor. You ain't got no witness. You ain't got anybody who can testify to, oh man, I caught your wife across the street with such and such. Nah, that's not the case. But what is it in verse 14 though?
And the spirit of jealousy come upon him, and he be jealous of his wife.
Now he just got this feeling like, I know something ain't right about me. It just something seemed to me like my wife doing something. That's the spirit of jealousy. Like something don't trigger your thoughts or your mind because like you ain't moving the same way you used to, or you can actually see that, you know, she's trying to keep some mischief hid in the closet. So now this spirit of jealousy, you know, come upon the husband. What is it?
And she be defiled. Or if the spirit of jealousy come upon him, and he be jealous of his wife, and she be not defiled.
So it could be two sides of the coin. Either he got a spirit of jealousy on him, either she was defiled or she wasn't defiled. But there's still proper measurements on how to deal with this. And that's what we read. Verse 15, go ahead.
Then shall the man bring his wife unto the priest, and he shall bring her offering for her, the 10th part of an ephah of barley meal. He shall pour no oil upon it, nor put frankincense thereon.
Go ahead.
For if it is an offering of jealousy, an offering of memorial, bringing iniquity to the remembrance.
So now we bringing sin to remembrance. You know, if this was done today, sure, well, there'd be a lot of women like keeping themselves chaste. Because it's a way to prove that, hey, you know what? She went back door on you, bro. It's a way to prove that. So even in the days of the nation of Israel, they had a way of proving that if they couldn't see it physically with their eyes, they had a way of proving it when it's pertaining to the Lord. So they took the woman to the priest and they took an offering. The offering was a 10th part of an ephah barley meal and poured no oil upon it, nor put frankincense therein. What is that in verse 16 though?
And the priest shall bring her near and set her before the Lord.
Now they taking this woman and setting her before God. Go ahead.
And the priest shall take holy water in an earthen vessel, and of the dust that is in the floor of the tabernacle, the priest shall take, and put it into the water.
Go ahead, verse 18.
And the priest shall set the woman before the Lord.
Now the priest, they taking this woman and they setting her before the Lord. Now what they gonna do?
and uncover the woman's head.
Now they uncovering this woman's head with a physical uncovering, or something physical was on her head. So now they got this woman sitting before the Lord, and they don't took her head covering off. Go ahead.
And put the offering of memorial in her hand,
Go ahead.
which is the jealousy offering.
Go ahead.
And the priest shall have in his hand the bitter water that causeth the curse.
So they got this bitter water that's going to cause the curse. What this curse supposed to do? Verse 19.
And the priest shall charge her by note, and say unto the woman, if no man lain with thee, and if thou hast not gone aside to uncleanness with another instead of thy husband, be thou free from this bitter water that causeth the curse.
Skip down to verse 22 and read that. Because this was going to take place. Like, if the woman was guilty of sleeping with somebody else, this is what the ephah barley meal, the oil, the with no oil on it, nor frankincense. This is what is supposed to, bring to pass she guilty. Right here in verse 22. Go ahead.
And this water that causeth the curse shall go into thy bowels, to make thy belly to swell,
Go ahead.
and thy thigh to rot.
So this is the evidence. This is proof in the pudding. Okay, I didn't see it with my physical eyes, but you know what? I took her before the priest, and they gave her this drink that once she drunk it, if she did go aside and commit trespass against her husband, guess what? Her belly gonna swell and her thigh gonna rot. Go ahead.
And the woman shall say, Amen.
So the woman gonna say amen, because now you found guilty. Now you have been proven that you did go aside and you trespassed. But how did this all take place? They took off her head cover, because this head cover represents power. Let's go over to Revelation chapter 12 real quick. So we see is that, that head cover is a physical head cover. We also saw in 1 Corinthians chapter 11 is that it was power to keep you from the angels. Them angels is what caused her belly to swell and her thigh to rot. That's what caused that. Let's go over here to, before we go to Revelation, let's look at Titus. Titus is right before Revelation. Please? Huh? There's only one chapter. Well, hold on, my bad. Jude, that's what I meant to say. I meant to say Jude. Jude only one chapter. Yeah.
Jude.
Yeah, Jude. Jude verse. Pick it up at verse 6. Well, you know what? Let's go read Revelation 12, then we'll come back to this Jude. Yeah, let's go to Revelation 12, then we'll come back to this Jude. And let's just see what, we're dealing with, because it did say, you got this power on your head from the angels. Now, we're not talking about the good angels. You know what I mean? Because the good angels, all they trying to do is just keep you in the way of the Lord. You know what I mean? At the same time, they telling you in your ear, when you finna do something wrong, they telling you in your ear, it's that conscience in your mind letting you know, it's that like, man, that might not be right. You might not want to do it. And we always say, man, we should have second guessed ourselves, but we should have heard our thoughts. Well, you know what? If your thoughts was telling you to do right according to the Lord, you should have very well followed it. But even if you're not dealing with the Lord, you still have some type of conscience in your mind knowing what's right and what's wrong. So even in this Revelation chapter 12, we better see is that, the prince or the heir of this world, which we know of to be Satan, like he's the one that's behind the scene, orchestrating all of this evil mischief that's taking place on this earth. So Revelation chapter 12, and let's pick it up at verse 6. I'm sorry, verse 7. Go ahead and read it.
And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against his angels.
So this is war in heaven. We're talking about the third heaven at this point. And this war is going on between Michael, which is a good angel, and he's fighting against Satan the dragon, who is an evil angel. What is it in verse 8?
And prevailed not.
Go ahead.
Neither was their place found any more in heaven.
Go ahead.
And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out unto the earth, and his angels were cast out with him.
So his angel was cast out with him. You know, in the scriptures, it said that it was an innumerable amount of angels, and guess what? Satan took a third of them. So they was cast out of heaven down to the earth. So these angels are here amongst us today. Let's go over to Jude now. Then we're going to go to Daniel, and that should be it. Let's go to Jude, and let's just read one verse. And it's the book right before Revelation. Jude chapter 6. I'm sorry, Jude verse 6. Go ahead.
And the angels which kept not their first estate.
So we're talking about these same angels that we saw in Revelation chapter 12. They didn't keep their first estate. Go ahead.
But left their own habitation.
But left their own habitation. Jude verse 6. Okay. Go ahead.
He hath reserved an everlasting chains under the darkness unto the judgment of the great day.
So they in chains of everlasting darkness, meaning like how Eve and Adam was approached by an angel. Like, nah, they was approached by Satan in full appearance. That's how they saw him, just like Jesus. You know what I mean? Jesus, that's God manifested in the flesh. So in Luke chapter 4, like Jesus, you know, he probably saw God. I mean, he probably saw Satan and all his angels because that's God. You know what I mean? But now, today, in our time, like, nah, we can't, you know, we can't see Satan how they saw him. We could just see his actions through people. What I mean by that is, let's go over to Daniel real quick. So we see is that, you know, he's locked in the chains of darkness. This is what this head covering on your head is supposed to be power against. Because now just anybody ain't going to be wearing a head covering on their head unless they got some type of understanding, unless they don't heard it from somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this sister got a head covering on. She must be dealing with keeping them commandments. Or she must be dealing with keeping the Sabbath. You know what I mean? Because just everybody who rock the head cover, they ain't got that understanding. You know what I mean? You might see these Islamic women walking around covered all up. They going too extreme with it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, they ain't even pertaining to the understanding of the Bible. You know what I mean? So the head covering is a physical head covering that represents power on a sister's head, showing that she's in subjection to Christ or her husband if she's married. So Daniel chapter 10, and let's pick it up at verse 1, and we'll skip around. Go ahead.
In the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a thing was revealed unto Daniel, whose name was called Belshazzar. And the thing was true, but the time appointed was long, and he understood the thing, and had understanding of the vision.
So, you know, Daniel, he trying to get understanding of this vision. Because, you know, this is what? In the days of Cyrus, the king of Persia. What is it in verse 2?
In those days, I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks.
Go ahead.
I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth. Neither did I anoint myself at all, till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled.
So for 21 days, Daniel was like food and water. You know what I mean? He didn't anoint himself. You know, he didn't do nothing. Like, he was praying, asking the Lord to, like, give him understanding of this vision. Skip down to verse 5 and read that.
Then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold
Go ahead.
of Uphaz.
So Daniel's seeing this angel. That's what he's looking at. He's seeing a man, you know, he said he looked up and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins was girded with fine gold of Uphaz. Verse 6. Go ahead.
His body also was like the beryl of his face, as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like in color of polished brass.
Go ahead.
And the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude.
Skip down to verse 11 and read that.
And he said unto me, O Daniel, a man greatly beloved.
Now this angel is the one that's saying unto Daniel, the one that got arms and feet polished like brass. You know, he got fine linen of Uphaz. His face is like the appearance of lightning. He's the one that's about to say unto Daniel, and he said unto me, O Daniel, a man greatly beloved. This is the angel talking to Daniel. Go ahead.
Understand the words that I speak unto thee.
Go ahead.
And stand upright.
Go ahead.
For unto thee am I now sent.
Keep reading.
And when he had spoken this word unto me, I stood trembling.
So he stood trembling. Like I'll be standing trembling too if an angel standing before me, because according to Ezekiel chapter 1, they look funny. So he was standing trembling. What he say in verse 12 though?
Then said he unto me, fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand and to chasten thyself before thy God.
So he chastened himself, meaning what we saw in verse 3, he ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in his mouth, neither did I anoint myself. That's when he chastened himself. He afflicted himself, meaning he went without food and water for 21 whole days. So now the angel is saying, like, since the first day that you chastened yourself and start praying to me to give me this vision, what he said?
Thy words were heard, and I am come for thy word.
Now this angel is coming for Daniel's words. What it say in verse 13?
But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days.
Now this prince of Persia, we got not a physical man trying to withstand an angel. We got Satan behind the scene being the prince of Persia. This is the one that withstood the message to get to Daniel for 21 days. It took him just that long, but keep reading though.
But lo, Michael, one of the chief prince, came to help me.
Go ahead.
And I remained there with the kings of Persia.
Now we saw Michael in what? Revelation chapter 12, right? We saw Michael having a war with Satan and his angels, right? So now we see this same Michael, which is the chief angel, he came and he helped out Gabriel. That's who this is. He came and helped them out because what? The prince of Persia, which is an angel, withstood Gabriel from getting the message of Daniel. See, this is important as to why, the sisters remain in their head covenants because, like, you might get the wrong message. You might think that, it's cool to eat something that's unclean because somebody done told you that. Just pray over it. Like, you might think that's cool, but you got to realize, like, if I've been, girded in this word, then I got some form of understanding. I know that's not a God. You can easily identify a spade as a spade. So even right here, we see is that what's going on in the spiritual realm. This is the reason why the head covering is to be on the woman, is to keep her, protected from these angels that are locked in the chains of darkness that's behind us or probably in this room right now with us. You know what I mean? So even them being in the chains of darkness, they seeing is that, hey, she got a little understanding. So, we're going to play her a different way. But at the same time, we seeing this take place in Daniel's time. Daniel, what he just said is that the prince of Persia held me up. And then Michael, he had to come and release me. But there's many more other places, but you good?
So does that mean that we're supposed to keep our head covered all the time, or just when we're?
Well, according to what 1 Corinthians chapter 11, it says, pray and prophesy. You know what I mean? So if you want to, you can, but it's not saying that you have to. You know what I mean? But it's really more so pertaining to when you're trying to, send up your supplications to the Lord. When you're getting on your knees. Now, if you're driving and you're riding by in a car wreck and you see somebody out injured, you have to throw your head covered and say a quick prayer for them? Nah. You know what I mean? Because it's just like in one of those situations, you just be like, Lord, have mercy on them. But, when we facing Jerusalem and we about to open up, or if you're trying to seek the Lord on something that you having problems with, then you want to put that head covering on. If you opening up this Bible and you opening up for understanding, you need to put the head covering on. But, just to walk around with the head covering all day, if you want to, you can, but it's not saying you have to. You good though? Okay, praise the Lord.
I got two questions.
Go ahead.
On birthdays and on Christmas, I got questions on that.
Okay.
You can elaborate on that for me.
Okay. Birthdays we'll deal with the first one, birthdays. All right, so let's go on Genesis real quick. In the beginning. Like I was saying earlier, is that we had a few birthday parties at the church in Atlanta. But we wasn't putting no candles on the birthdays, you know, because that candle represents something else. You know, but as far as in like birth, let's just go look at it. Genesis chapter 5. Genesis chapter 5. And let's pick it up at verse 1. Genesis chapter 5 and verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it.
This is the book of the generations of Adam.
Go ahead.
In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him.
Now, generation, what is that? Consists of 100 years, right?
Yeah.
So even in the generation of Adam, we looking at 100 years, but we see is that what it says, God created a man in the likeness of God made he him. What else is in verse 2?
Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, in the day when they were created.
Go ahead, verse 3.
And Adam lived 130 years,
Go ahead.
and begat a son in his own likeness,
Keep reading.
after his image, and called his name Seth.
Now, how do we know that Adam was 130 years? Because something had to be recorded. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't just, you know, like Moses is the one that's the writer of this, but God is the one that's giving Moses this understanding. So, like, Moses didn't just throw out a number. You know what I mean? Like, he actually had a number that was actually recorded. But keep reading, though, verse 4.
And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years,
Go ahead.
and he begat sons and daughters.
So he had a son at 800 years of age. Now, am I saying that Adam had birthdays like how we do it today? No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that his age in the book of the generations of himself, his years was recorded. You know what I mean? Like a year went by, he was 130 years. Another year, I mean, of course, you know it's going to get to like 800. But what I'm saying is these days was actually recorded. But keep reading, though. Verse 4. I'm sorry, 5.
And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died.
Keep reading, though.
And Seth lived 105 years.
Now his son that came out of him, what, at 130 years. Now, Adam died at 930. Now he got a son, and it says, and he lived 105 years. That's 105. Go ahead.
And begat Enoch.
Keep reading.
And Seth lived after he begat Enoch 807 years.
Now he lived 807 years, and he begot Enoch. I'm sorry, he lived 105 and begot Enoch. Now it says, and he lived 807 years, and he begot sons and daughters. Go ahead, verse 9. I'm sorry, verse 8.
And all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died.
So he died. So what we're getting at right here is that we see is that there's some actual birth dates being recorded. In order for him to get to 130, it had to be some type of birth date being carried. In order for him to get to 800, 930, 105, so forth and so forth, because as you go through here, we're going to continue to read, is that all these people, they aged and they died. But let's go over to Job real quick. Job chapter what's that? Let's go over to Job chapter 3. Job chapter 3. And let's pick it up at verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it.
After this opened Job his mouth and cursed his day.
So he cursed his what?
His day.
Apparently this was the day he had to be born. Go ahead, though.
And Job spake and said, let the day perish wherein I was born.
Exactly. So he's talking about the day that he was born. Wherein, let it perish. Go ahead.
And the night in which it was said, there is a man child conceived.
Go ahead.
let that day be darkness.
Now, what it just said in verse 3 at the end of that, it says, there is a man child that's conceived. So he talking about all the way at the time of his birth. You know what I mean? His conception. So it says is that what? It says, let the day perish wherein I was born, and the night in which it was said, there is a man child conceived. Go ahead, verse 4.
Let that day be darkness.
Go ahead.
Let that God regard it from above.
Keep reading.
Neither let the light shine upon it.
Verse 5.
Let darkness and the shadow of death stain it.
Go ahead.
Let a cloud dwell upon it.
Keep going.
Let the blackness of the day terrify it.
Go ahead, verse 6.
As for that night, let darkness seize upon it. Let it not be joined unto the days of the year.
So the days of what?
Of the year.
Of the years. So in order for you to get to a year, it got to be some days in that to get to a year. But we see is that Job is saying, curse the day that he was even born. Now, is he saying that, don't deal with birthdays? Nah, he's just looking at the fact of like, hey, I cursed the day that I was actually born, because he said what? It is like, let darkness, and he said, let darkness and shadow of death stain it. Then he said, the cloud dwell upon it, let the blackness of the day terrify. But then he says, as for the night, let darkness seize upon it. Go ahead.
Let it not be joined unto the days of the year.
Go ahead.
Let it not come into the number of the months.
So he said into the number of the months. Like, he's clearly letting you know is that like some birthday had to be in remembrance. Like, in other words, like I'm talking about all the way from the time when I was conceived, all the way up into the time of what he's saying, like, let not the number come into the number of months. So it's like he understood the fact that, you know, his birth was acknowledged. But like I said before, do they celebrate birthdays how we do today? Nah, I don't think so. You know what I mean? But at the same time, births were acknowledged. They was recorded. You know what I mean? Because in order for you to know the age of a man, like, you got to keep some type of record to keep up with his days and his years and months. Or I'm sorry, his days, months, and years. You got to keep up with that. So we seeing right here is that Job, you know, he cursing the day that he was born. But keep reading though, verse 7.
Lo, let that night be solitary. Let no joyful voice come therein.
Go ahead.
Let them curse, and that curse the day, who are ready to raise up their mourning.
Let's go over here to Luke. Let's go over here to Luke. Luke chapter. Let's look at Jesus. Let's go over to Luke chapter. Luke chapter. Hold on, what's that? Yeah, let's go to Luke chapter 1. Luke chapter 1. And let's pick it up at verse 26. Luke chapter 1 and verse 26. Go ahead.
And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God unto a city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David.
Go ahead.
And the virgin's name was Mary.
Keep reading.
And the angel came in unto her, and said, Hail, thou that art highly favored.
Go ahead.
The Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. And when she saw him, she was troubled at his saying, and cast in her mind what manner of salutation this should be.
Keep reading.
And the angel said unto her, Fear not, Mary, for thou hast found favor with God.
So Mary has found favor with God. What are you about to say in verse 31?
And behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb, and bring forth a son, and shall call his name Jesus.
So this, you're going to have a baby, or you're going to conceive in your womb, and he's going to be called Jesus. What is that in verse 32?
He shall be great, and shall be called the Son of the Highest.
Go ahead.
And the Lord God shall give unto him the throne of his father David.
So the Lord gonna give unto him the throne of his father David. So all this is gonna be done of the Father. Let's go over to Luke chapter 2 now, and let's pick it up at let's pick it up at 40. Let's pick it up at Luke chapter 2, and let's pick it up at verse 22. No, verse 21.
What's that?
Luke chapter 2 and 21. Go ahead.
And when 8 days were accomplished for the circumcision of the child, his name was called Jesus,
Go ahead.
which was so named of the angel before he was conceived in the womb.
So he was conceived in the womb. His name was already given, Jesus, but yet he had to be circumcised on the 8th day. That's what we read right here, verse 21. But go ahead to verse 22.
And when the days of her purification, according to the law of Moses, were accomplished, they brought him to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord.
Go ahead.
As it is written in the law of the Lord, every male that opened the womb shall be called holy to the Lord.
Ain't that something? Every male that opened the womb shall be called holy to the Lord. Not, negating the woman, but the Lord said every male, because this male is going to continue to keep the charge as well as, keeping Israel's seed alive and so forth and so forth. But keep reading though. Skip down to verse 25 and read that though.
And behold, there was a man in Jerusalem whose name was Simeon, and the same man was just and devout, waiting for the consolation of Israel. And the Holy Ghost was upon him.
Go ahead.
And it was revealed unto him by the Holy Ghost that he should not see death before he had seen the Lord Christ.
Verse 27.
And he came by the Spirit into the temple. And when the parents brought in the child Jesus to do for him after the custom of the law, then took he him up in his arms and blessed God, and said, Lord, now lettest thou thy servant depart in peace according to thy word.
So now, go ahead. I'm sorry, verse 30.
For my eyes have seen thy salvation.
So now Simeon don't see this salvation, which is Jesus. But we saw is what in Luke chapter 1, we saw that the angel came to Mary saying, guess what? You're going to have a baby. This baby is going to be called Jesus, the Son of the Highest. And in other places, it say what? He going to save his people from his sin. So now we seeing right here is that now Simeon has seen this child, Jesus, and has seen his salvation. Skip down to verse 49 and read that. Or read verse 46. No, verse 44. No, verse 43. No, I'm sorry, 42 and that'll be it. Go ahead. Start from 42.
And when he was 12 years old,
Go ahead.
they went up to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast.
Now they say he was 12 years old. So he went from a baby all the way to 12 years of age. So it's like they can't just get the number 12 without having 11, without having 10, without having 9, without having 8. You know what I mean? Like we saw in chapter 1 is that he was a baby. You know what I mean? Or he was going to be conceived and be a baby. Now we're looking at his track record where he got up to the age of 12. Now, like I said, again, I'm not saying that, birthdays is what they was doing, but they kept some form of birth. Or I'm sorry, they kept some form of track of their birth. You know what I mean? So like how else would we know that Jesus was 12 at this point? Because they had to keep some type of document or something tracked within the recordings. But keep reading though, verse 41. I'm sorry, 43.
And when they had fulfilled the days, as they returned, the child Jesus tarried behind in Jerusalem. And Joseph and his mother knew not of it.
Go ahead.
But they supposing him to have been in the company when the day's journey.
Go ahead.
And they saw him among their kinfolk and acquaintances.
Keep reading.
And when they found him not, they turned back again to Jerusalem, seeking him.
So they don't lost Jesus. Not baby Jesus, the young 12-year-old. They don't lost him. You know what I mean? And they like trying to find where he at. So they turned back to head to Jerusalem. What is that in 46?
And it came to pass that after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and answering them questions.
So they asking you know what I mean? Like they hearing them and asking questions. They sitting there asking this young 12-year-old. You know what I mean? So, you know, Jesus had understanding that right out the womb. But we see is that it says that what? They was asking him questions. Skip down, because now his parents don't find him. And what he said in verse 49?
And he said unto them, how is it that ye sought me? Wist ye not that I must be about my father's business?
Exactly. So he's like, I'm about my father's business. In other words, I'm here to deal with the gospel. You know what I mean? So that's, you know, how I was sought. But let's go on one more place. Let's go over it on. Let's go over here on. Hold on. Hold on. Let's go to Matthew chapter. Well, yeah, John chapter 8. My bad. Thank you, Zeke. John chapter 8. Need some water? He's parched. Where is that when it say age 33? Jesus died at what, 33 and a half?
Yeah.
That's that in scripture. All I'm doing is just, you know what I mean, just going through, you know, showing that, hold on. Jesus died at 33 and a half. Yeah, 30, yeah, 50 years old.
That's Abraham.
Yeah,
Matthew 27,
Matthew 27.
45 to 64.
That what it say?
55.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Matthew 27. Matthew 27, you said what now?
45 to 64.
45. You said 54?
Yeah, 45 through 64.
Okay. Hold on. That ain't it.
And then
It's someone, it's just, like I said, it's just going through, just showing that, you know, the age, you know, it was documented. I can't find the script. All I was gonna show you that, well, you know
I
what?
think it's Luke 3.
But yeah, I think so too. But before we go there, let's go to Numbers real quick. Numbers chapter 4. Let me see about Luke. You said Luke chapter 3, right? Luke chapter 3 and 21.
21, 22.
Luke chapter 3.
Yeah, 23.
Okay. Yep. Let's read that. Yeah. Let's read this and then we'll go to Numbers. So Luke chapter 3. And pick it up at 22. Just one verse. Go ahead.
22.
Yeah. Ain't that's it? Yeah, that's it. No, that ain't it.
23.
Okay. Yeah, read 22 and 23.
And the Holy Ghost descended in a bodily shape like a dove upon him. And a voice came from heaven, which said, Thou art my beloved Son. In thee I am well pleased.
So this Jesus at his baptism. All right, but what it say in verse 23 though?
And Jesus himself began to be about 30 years of age,
Go ahead.
being, as was supposed, the son of Joseph, which was the son of Heli.
Excuse me. Now, as was supposed, it says talking about him supposed to be the son of Joseph. Because, we know that he didn't physically come out of Joseph. So that's why it's saying as supposed. But they still saying he was about 30 years of age. So, some type of, acknowledgement had to be known in order for him to actually even get to that age. Let's go and look at one more place real quick. Numbers chapter 4. Numbers chapter 4. Numbers chapter 4, and let's pick it up at verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it.
And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, Take the sum of the sons of Kohath from among the sons of Levi,
Go ahead.
after their families, by the house of their fathers.
So, the Lord spoken to Moses and Aaron and said, look here, you need to take the sum of the sons from Kohath and from among the sons of Levi, after their families, by the house of their fathers. What does it say in verse 3?
From 30 years old and upward, even until 50 years old.
Go ahead.
All that enter into the host, to do the work in the tabernacle of the congregation.
So they had to be at a certain age to work in the tabernacle of the congregation. Like, you couldn't just be doing work in the congregation at 15. You know what I mean? Like, right here we seeing is that he told Aaron and Moses to tell, the sons of Kohath and Levi that, look here, get your sons so they can work in the tabernacle. But guess what? They got to be 30 years old and upward, even until 50 years. Like, how would you know that somebody's 30 years or 50? You know what I mean? Like, we ain't going extreme with birthdays. It's just the fact that, like, sometimes, we kind of get just a little too carried away. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to celebrate your birthday, hey, it ain't nothing wrong with it. You know what I mean? But now when you start setting up candles and lighting them and doing this ceremonies that come along with traditional birthdays, then like you running into something. You know what I mean? Because you're dealing with something else. Hey man, you can't leave your job, man. You can't leave your post, man. Now I'm messing with you, man. But yeah, that's pretty much it, bro. As far as in like I said, how we deal with it today. I ain't saying that's how they was doing it back then, but even how we do it today, it ain't nothing wrong with how we do it today. You know what I mean? It's just that we don't need to be associated making wishes and this and that. You know what I mean? That comes along with the tradition, because that's something else extra. So that's pretty much that on the birthday. Now you're saying about Christmas.
Yeah, I gotta understand on that.
Praise the Lord. Okay. So the Christmas, what you was on?
Whatever you got for me.
Oh, okay, just
showing.
showing as paid.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Ain't got nothing to do with Christ. Okay.
Yeah, ain't got nothing to do with Christ.
Okay. Let's go into the famous scripture then.
That's right.
Jeremiah chapter 10.
Famous scripture, baby.
That's
Jeremiah 10.
the famous script. The script that's pretty clear to the point.
You can't go wrong on.
Nah, you can't. And we're gonna go look at, some of Paul as well, because a lot of this time, man, a lot of this stuff, sometimes, we know as we continue to get understanding on the word of God, we know that these little idols ain't nothing to God. You know what I mean? Like, we understand that, but then at the same time, it sometimes be for the conscience of another person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, like, shoot, for instance, your homeboy, you know, whether he in dealing with the word or whether he's not, he might be watching your actions and he'd be like, shoot, you know, D, man, come out there. Gerard. I don't know why I be saying D. I be like, why you calling me? Let them start with D. I just be wondering, yeah, but anyways, but like G. Like, come on to this party, man. Come on to this Christmas party with me. You know what I mean? And now you go there and you just knowing that, man, this ain't got nothing to do with God. Like, I understand that. But yet he watching you. You know what I mean? He watching you partake in it. Now he might see you doing it. He might be like, man, I thought you were dealing with the true and living God. What you doing here? You know what I mean? Amongst us. You know what I mean? Like sometimes that's where it can play into, but you know, we know as we get to that level, man, what we're about is really just converting others into the word of God, man. That's how I do it. Letting our light so shine before the world. You know what I mean? So it ain't never supposed to be really about us. It's supposed to be about us by keeping us in these commandments, doing the will of the Father. But for others, that's why Christ said that's why Paul said in 2 Corinthians chapter 6, when he was saying, like, you know, we ain't preaching about us, we preaching about Jesus, for we are your servants. In other words, like, we being a service unto the people to bring them unto Christ. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But far as in just like, you know, Jeremiah, man, it's like 1, 2, 3, letting you know that, man. You don't supposed to have no trees in your house. Jeremiah chapter 10, and let's pick it up at verse 1. Jeremiah chapter 10, and verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it, brother.
Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel.
Go ahead.
Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, but be not dismayed at the signs of heaven.
So understand, it's like, don't be dismayed at the signs of heaven. Now, the signs we talking about is the sun, the moon, and the stars. So he letting you know is that, like, look here, don't be dismayed at the signs on heaven, because what?
For the heathen are dismayed at them.
So the heathen, you know, they the ones that's dismayed at the signs on heaven. This is the book I was reading up here, on the way up here. And these are nothing but heathen customs, come out of Greek mythology. So in other words, you know, and we'll read a little bit out of that just to show us that a lot of that has no association when it comes to the word of God of Christ. You know what I mean? So even we see is that the Lord said through the mouth of Jeremiah, don't learn the ways of the heathen, because they dismayed at the signs that are in heaven. What is it in verse 3?
For the customs of the people are vain.
Go ahead.
For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, for the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe.
Keep reading.
They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not.
So they deck it with silver and gold. So back then, you know, they had a Christmas tree. Sure, they probably was using real gold and real silver. You know what I mean? Not like what we do today. You know, they got them little balls or them little whatever wraps around it. But back then, they was probably using real gold and silver, and they had the little 2x4, whatever they was using back then, and they fastened it with nails that it moved not. Go ahead.
They are upright as the palm tree.
That's clear, right? We see what a palm tree looked like. So it just clearly said that it looked like a palm tree upright. Like, how can you miss that? That's clearly a Christmas tree, but keep reading them.
But speak not.
Go ahead.
They must needs be born, because they cannot go.
So they can't go. They can't speak. They can't go. They can't talk. They can't do nothing. But keep reading them.
Be not afraid of them,
Go ahead.
for they cannot do evil. Neither also is it in them to do good.
Skip down to verse 8 and read that.
But they are altogether brutish and foolish.
Go ahead.
The stock is a doctrine of vanity.
So the stock is a doctrine of vanities. You know what I mean? Like the Christmas tree, Easter, Sunday as being the Sabbath day, January, Janus, which is the two-head God that look towards the future and the past. But we understand is that the new year is according to Abib, which is the spring year when the earth is back to life. But like we know that January and the dead men of winter, how is that supposed to be the new year? But yet that's what they come up with. They come up with all these different customs. It's the heathen. The heathen is other nations. That's all heathen means. So in other words, it says these doctrines is foolish. It's a It says in the stock is a doctrine of vanities. Skip down to verse 11 and read that.
Thus shall ye say unto them, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, even they shall perish
Go ahead.
from the earth
Keep reading.
and from under these heavens.
So even the gods that, haven't made the earth, like a Christmas tree ain't breathing to Adam the breath of life, and he became a living soul. That wasn't done by a Christmas tree. That was done by the gods of all gods. So he said even those little gods with the G, like, they're going to actually perish from the face of this earth. What else he said in verse 12, though?
He hath made the earth by his power. He have established the world by his wisdom,
Keep reading.
and have stretched out the heavens by his discretion.
No Christmas tree has done this. We're talking about the true and living God.
Discretion.
He's the one that, has stretched out the heaven or the world with his wisdom. Skip down to verse 14 and read that, though.
Every man is brutish in his knowledge.
Go ahead.
Every founder is confounded by the graven image.
Keep reading.
For his molten image is falsehood,
Keep going.
and there is no breath in them.
There is no breath in them. You know what I mean? The graven image is foolish. But let's go over here to Psalms real quick. Not Psalms. Let's go to Jeremiah. Let's go to Isaiah. Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 40. 40. Isaiah 44. Isaiah 44. Let's pick it up let's pick it up at verse 9. 44 and 9. Isaiah 44 and 9. We get it. Go ahead and read it.
They that make a graven image are all of them vanity,
All of them are vanity, not just some of them, all of them. Go ahead.
and their delectable things shall not profit.
This is something that is pleasant on they, is lovely unto them. That's what it says, delectable. But keep reading though.
And they are their own witnesses.
Keep going.
They see not nor know
Go ahead.
that they may be ashamed.
Verse 10.
Who have formed a god, or molten an image, a graven image that is profitable for nothing?
Go ahead.
Behold, all his fellows shall be ashamed,
Go ahead.
and the workmen they are of men. Let them all be gathered together. Let them stand up. Yet they shall fear, and they shall be ashamed together.
Verse 12.
The smith with the tongs both worketh in the coal, and fashioning it with hammers.
So now we're talking about the graven image, how it's being made. So that's why he said is that the smith is said with tongues both working coals and fashioning with hammers. Go ahead.
And worketh it with the strength of his arm.
Go ahead.
Yea, he is hungry, and his strength is failing.
Keep reading.
He drunketh no water, and is faint.
So he faint. After all this, after preparing this graven image, you know what I mean? He ain't fed himself nor drunk any water because, he trying to make this image. What it say in verse 13?
The carpenter stretcheth out his rule.
Go ahead.
He marketh it out with a line. He fitteth it with planes.
Go ahead.
And he marketh it out with the compass.
So as we keep reading, we seeing is that this is all created by a man. We see is that what? The smith is a man. He what? He beating it with the strength of his arm. He fashioning with his tools. Like this is a man creating this. And then we also see the carpenter. He taking a ruler and stretching it out. You know what I mean? He make it out with a line. He fit the plans and mark it with his own compass. Like this is a man creating this image. But keep reading though.
And maketh it after the figure of a man,
Go ahead.
according to the beauty of a man,
Keep reading.
that it may remain in the house.
Verse 14.
He heweth him down cedars, and taketh the cypress and the oak which he strengthened for himself among the trees of the forest. He planteth an ash, and the rain doeth nourish it.
Keep going. 15.
Then shall it be for a man to burn.
You see that? Then shall it be for a man to burn. We're talking about this image, but keep reading though.
For he will take thereof and warm himself.
Go ahead.
Yea, he kindleth it and baketh bread.
Go ahead.
Yea, he maketh a god, and worshipeth it.
Go ahead.
He maketh it a graven image, and falleth down thereto.
So he fall down to the image. But read verse 16 though.
He burneth part thereof in the fire.
Now you know what he's talking about. He burning part of it, right? He's talking about this image. You know what I mean? Because now after he done worshiping and serving it, now he finna put it in the fire. Ain't that's what they do with them Christmas trees? When they done with celebrating Christmas, where they at? They probably in the woods or somewhere. They throw them all away. You know what I mean? So at the same time, the same thing is occurring right here is that he don't took this wood or this image that he don't made out of a man. Now he taking part of it. And it says, what is that? And it says, then shall it be for a man to burn, for he would take thereof and warm himself. Yeah, he kindled and baked bread. I'm sorry, verse 16. He burned part thereof in the fire. With part thereof, he eat flesh. So he even used part of it to eat flesh with. He like made out of his leg, he probably made a fork. You know what I mean? But it's just an image. Go ahead, though.
He roasteth roast, and is satisfied. Yea, he warmeth himself, and saith, I am warm.
He said, I am warm. You know what I mean? Because I don't took this image that I put all this work into. I don't measured it out. I don't took a compass. I don't did all of this. So now, after I'm done with it all, I'm finna put it in the fire and keep myself warm. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is an image that ain't got no life, no breath, or nothing inside of it. Let's go over to Psalms real quick. Let's look at the same thing in Psalms. We'll look at something in the New Testament real quick. Psalms on... Psalms.
Wait, I don't get it. Why they would put it in the fire?
You don't get why they would put it in the fire?
Yeah.
Because they done with the use of it.
Oh, okay.
Meaning like it's useless anymore.
And it's firewood for them.
Yeah, it's made firewood. But with the true and living God, like that's not gonna be the case. You know what I mean? Because it's just letting you know is that it was created by the hands of a man. You know what I mean? Because like we didn't create the true and living God, the one that created the heaven and the earth in 6 days.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
we ain't the one, you know what I mean? That so in other words, you know, and I'm sorry, 6 days, on the 7th day he rested. But what I'm saying is that this is just showing you is that the image, it ain't nothing. You know what I mean? Because like when they done worshiping it, they use it for firewood. Or they use it to cook them a roast.
You throw all that on the street.
Yeah, today that's what we do. Yeah.
After you don't spend all your money.
I remember doing that some years ago. Yeah, I remember doing that years ago. I was like, what we gonna do with it? Shoot, let's throw it in the woods.
Put it on top of your car.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like the brother said, you do all that. You go out to a location, cut it down, tie it down to your house, take it back home. People say they ain't worshiping a tree. Yes, you are.
You doing all
that for a tree. You going to a location, you spending money on gas. You get to the location, you find the one you like.
Spend money on a tree.
Spend money on a tree. Now you're putting it on the roof of your car, tying it down. Now guess what you got to do when you get home? You got to uncut it, take it in the house. Now when you take it in the house, now you got to stand in the stand. Now you got to deck it with silver and gold. Now you got to go gifts for it to put it up under. Like you bound down to a tree.
And no one better not touch it either.
Right. You know what I mean? If you knock this tree over,
You're
like,
not gonna like the prayer.
yeah, it's an issue. So let's go over there. And people, you know, people don't really look at it like that, but I mean, dude, you putting your whole energy into a doggone tree. That at the end of it all, okay, I'm done with it. So now I'm finna load the same tree up on my truck, on my car, and I'm finna find some woods or somewhere and get rid of it. You know what I mean? Like that's just. But you know, man, I mean, we always like that. You know what I mean? I was. You know, but now you just you look back and you just thank God that, you know, he don't shed some light on it. But on Psalms,
Can I just say something?
sure.
The
Psalms 115, but go ahead.
the traditional sense of holidays,
Mm-hmm.
like being that for 34 years, that's something I've done with family, and it just brings out like a good memory, good times. What can you do to replace those traditions
Oh,
or can you not even, because you're not even supposed to celebrate that day?
nah, you're not. I mean, but
So-
you know, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So you just gotta wipe out all traditions, or are there other things that you do now in your family that replace the old traditions?
Yeah, the holidays. Lord gave you holidays to celebrate in Leviticus the 23rd chapter. Yeah, like we have big parties. For
Like
real.
with food and.
Food, drink. You know what I mean?
Strong
But
drink.
strong drink. We don't get carried away. Yeah, we don't get carried away. You know, the scriptures tell us how to celebrate.
But
You
does
know-
it say like certain food or?
Yeah, clean foods.
Yeah.
Yeah, like clean foods. You know what I mean? Like according to the dietary law, it's gonna be all clean foods. It's gonna prepare. You know, it's gonna be your best. You ain't gonna just put anything together because you present this before the Lord. You know what I mean? So like God, He gave us holy days that we observe, and all of us. I know me. I look forward to them when they come. They come annually, and they come at a set time of the year, not just Israel Church of Jesus. We're just gonna decide to have Passover on the 15th of February, and then we're gonna have unleavened bread the 16th. Nah, it's not done like that. It's done according to how the moon bring in the New Year's. The moon bring in the feast days, the new moon. So pertaining to that, like those are holy days that God gave us to keep in remembrance of Him. But all we doing now, we're just teaching our kids the truth. You know what I mean? Because like, seriously, you mean to tell me that I go to work and I buy all this and now I'm giving credit to Santa Claus? Like, seriously? You know what I mean? But at the same time, you did all this. But then at the same time, like, Santa Claus got to be a god if he can travel the whole world in one night. He got to be some form of god. He seriously do, because, like, how you going to get to every house in one night? Especially a house that ain't got chimneys. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, yes, he's been reverenced as a god. So that's something that we got to kind of like step away from, is because, you kind of like crossing the lines. But, I mean, there are days that you can observe, and those are the holy days of God. You know what I mean? If your child has a birthday, you can celebrate those. You know what I mean? But you definitely want to just keep it in the realm of dealing with the Lord. You know what I mean? But Psalms 115. Psalms 115. And let's look at this verse 2. And we're going to jump to the New Testament, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it ain't just in the Old Testament. Nah, it's from the Old to the New. You know, and then we're going to see, like, even in the last book of the Bible, like, hey, you ain't getting in Jerusalem if you still got, you know what I mean, this idol in your mind. You know what I mean? Which is, we're going to look at Ezekiel too. I mean, we ain't got nothing else to do. Nobody else ain't got no question. No.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we're going to still answer. But Psalms 115. Let's pick it up at verse 2. Go ahead and read it.
Wherefore should the heathen say, where is now their God?
So this is what the heathen saying, the non-believer. I'm sorry, the other nation. You know what I mean? Which is, somebody who don't believe in the word. So they saying like, where is their God? Go ahead.
But our God is in the heavens.
Go ahead.
He hath done whatsoever he hath pleased.
And this is what we would say. You know what I mean? Our God is in the heavens. Like he do whatever he please. But what is saying verse 4?
Their idols are silver and gold,
Go ahead.
the work of men's hands.
Verse 5.
They have mouths, but they speak not.
Now this idol that we was reading about in Isaiah 44, like it said what? The carpenter fashioned it out and was made in the image of a man. Guess what? It didn't have a mouth to talk. What else it say?
Eyes have they, but they see not.
So they ain't even got, like they got eyes, but they can't see like you and me. It's just letting you know is that like this image ain't nothing. Go ahead.
They have ears, but they hear not.
They can't even hear you when you talking to them. When you down on your knees praying to it, like they can't even hear you. You know what I mean? Because it ain't got no life in it. It is nothing. Go ahead.
Noses have they, but they smell not.
So even the sweet smelling saviors that they making sacrifices to these idols, they can't even smell. You know what I mean? Like people got these little Buddha statues in their house and they make sacrifices to it, or they leave some type of meat burning throughout the day. I've seen an Asian guy like some years ago. You know what I mean? He had a Buddha statue and he had a little plate with some meat burning. And that was supposed to be, you know what I mean, to smell it to his God, but it's a statue. It just said right here, it's like they got nose and they can't even smell it. So like, what are you doing? Keep reading though.
They have hands, but they handle not.
Go ahead.
Feet have they, but they walk not.
Keep going.
Neither speak they through their throat.
So they can't even talk to you through their throat. What does it say in verse 8?
They that make them are like unto them. So is everyone that trusteth in them.
So everyone that trusted in them. See, you just like the idol if you trust in it. You know what I mean? You can't hear spiritually. You can't see spiritually. You just like the idol who physically can't see nor hear. You just like it. That's what he's saying right here. They that make them are like unto them. So is everyone that trusts in them. What is it in verse 9?
O Israel, trust thou in the Lord.
Go ahead.
He is their help and their shield.
This is your help and your shield. Let's go over to 1 Corinthians real quick. 1 Corinthians chapter 11. First Corinthians chapter 11. I'm sorry, 1 Corinthians chapter 10. We go to verse 19.
What say I then? That the idol is anything?
Go ahead.
Or that which is offered in sacrifice to idols is anything?
So we understand, man, is that idol ain't nothing to the Lord. That's what Paul's going to get at. So he like, what then? What I say then? That the idol is anything, or what which is offered in sacrifice to idols anything? What do he say, verse 20?
But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils.
See, the Gentiles would be the heathens or another nation. In this case, it could play both sides. It could play Europeans or it could play Hamites. It could play, because you got to realize in the New Testament, Gentiles didn't just always specify to the seed of Jacob. You know what I mean? Like Gentile, it covered a banner, meaning like other than Israel. So at this particular time, this is talking about Japhet. Letting you know is that like, look, Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils. Go ahead.
And not to God.
And not to God. Go ahead.
And I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils.
So you shouldn't have fellowship with devils. You know what I mean? That's how you get Christmas. That's how you get Easter. That's how you get Sunday as the day of worship for the modern day Christians. All of that came from the customs of the Gentiles. So we see is that what? It says, Paul saying is that I would not that ye should have fellowship with the devils. Go ahead.
Ye cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils. Ye cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and of the table of the devil.
So you can't partake in the Lord and the devil. You can't. Verse 22.
Do we provoke the Lord to jealousy?
Go ahead.
Or are we stronger than he?
No, we not. Keep reading.
Or all things are lawful for me,
Go ahead.
but all things are not expedient.
So all things are lawful. Meaning like, you know, there ain't nothing wrong with you having a drink. You know, that's lawful. But now you getting drunk to the point where you going DUI and kill somebody. Nah. You know what I mean? That's not lawful. That's not expedient unto you. You know what I mean? Because now you don't got too carried away. But to have a drink, it ain't nothing wrong with that. So that's what Paul is saying is that, you know, all things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. Meaning like it ain't to the point where you finna go DUI when you having a drink. But keep reading though.
All things are lawful for me, but all things edify not.
So all things don't edify. Go ahead.
Let no man seek his own, but every man another's wealth.
So exactly. So that's what I was saying from the get-go is that like, you know, we're not supposed to be seeking our own. You know what I mean? We're supposed to be servants for one another. That's why Paul is saying what? Let no man seek his own, but every man another's wealth. Go ahead, verse 25.
Whatsoever is sold in the shambles.
Oh, that's it on that. That's going somewhere else. But
That's going in there.
yeah, that's going on to something else. Yeah. But I mean, shambles is just talking about, you know, a meat house.
It's some people that use that to whatever.
Yeah. But let's go look Let's go look at one more place and then I mean, because we see is that, you know, the idol, you know what I mean? It ain't nothing to God. Nah, it ain't. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you know, the bigger scheme of things, like he was saying, it's like, let us not look on our own things, but let us look on the things of others. You know what I mean? Because that's what it's really supposed to be about. Hold on for a second. Conscious sake. Conscious sake. Where
But is that the next verse?
that? Is it?
Say, are you asking no questions for conscience sake?
Yeah, that's it? Okay.
25.
Okay. So let's go back to that. 1 Corinthians chapter 10. That where we were.
You talking about the 40, so you say no next conscience?
Yeah. Skip down skip down to verse. No, let's pick it back up at verse 25.
Whatsoever is sold in the shambles that eat, asking no questions for conscience sake.
So we understand, like, we talking about Paul writing this letter. Shambles at that time would be clean meats. We're not, you know, just to throw that disclaimer out there, you know, we talking about clean meats that's in shambles. But what he said in verse 26 though?
For the earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof.
27, go ahead.
If any of them that believe not bid you to a feast.
So you see that? If your homeboy bid you to a feast, I don't know if you're, I'm just saying, if my homeboy bid me to a feast, but he don't believe, go ahead.
And ye be disposed to go.
And I want to go. I'm like, all right, I'm going to come, bro. Go ahead.
Whatsoever is set before you, eat, asking no questions for conscience sake.
So I'm going to eat. You know what I mean? Not asking any questions. I'm hanging out with my homeboy. He bidding me to a feast. So I'm finna go there and I'm finna eat. But what it say in verse 28?
But if any man say unto you, this is offered in sacrifice unto idols,
Go ahead.
eat not for his sake.
Wow.
That shoot it.
Go ahead. So in other words, like my homeboy invited me to a Christmas party. And now on the table, he know I don't deal with Christmas. So now I'm there and I'm eating. Now he like, hey man, you know that was tired, God. Why don't you say you don't serve? You're not gonna eat it because it's for his conscience. That's what it's saying. It says, but this is offered in sacrifice unto idols, eat not for his sake that showed it. Go ahead.
And for conscience sake.
So for conscience sake, go ahead.
For the earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof.
Go ahead, 29.
Conscience, I say not thine own, but of the other.
So of the other. This is what it's all about, brothers and sisters, is that, you know, we supposed to be consciously trying to convert others into the word of God. That's what we supposed to be doing. That's why, you know, we supposed to be a light to the world, is because we supposed to be gathering people in this thing by our efforts or our actions, our conduct. So we see is that we understand is that, like, shoot, I go to a Christmas party, all right, so I went. You know what I mean? But if I'm there with a buddy of mine or a coworker of mine, and he actually trying to see if I'm gonna come just so he can see if I'm gonna participate in it, then you might not want to, because he's really on the fence of if he's gonna serve the true and living God, or he's gonna still remain in the world. So Paul is saying right here is that, like, conscience, I say not thy own, but of the other. Go ahead.
For why is my liberty judged of another man's conscience?
So why is my liberty? You know what I mean? Why is my liberty, me, you know, keeping the commandments of God, you know, me understanding the testimony of Jesus, why is that being judged of another man's conscience? What he say in verse 30?
For if I by grace be a partaker, why am I evil spoken of for that for which I give thanks?
So why am I evil spoken of? What he say in verse 31?
Whether thereof, therefore, ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do all to the glory of God.
So do it all to the glory of God. Go ahead, verse 32.
Give none offense, neither to the Jews nor to the Gentiles, nor to the church of God.
So you ain't gonna give no offense. You know what I mean? Like, you really just doing it just to convert your homeboy. You know what I mean? But nah, man, we don't want to partake in all these, these pagan roots. But at the same time, it really be more so about, trying to win them over. That's why Jesus said, "We'll be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove." You don't want to go in just cutting their head off, kicking their tree over. You're a pagan, and you just go in the house kicking. You want to be wise about how you deal with it because, don't be so hasty because you got to realize, like, we all used to be like that. So now, because we got this good understanding, we can't just condemn the ones that still without our understanding because we was in their same shoes. So we just gotta, learn how to be wise about, how we deal with, our loved ones that still tied to these traditions. But I was gonna read some stuff out of this book, man, but it's a stupid book. It really is. Mythology from gods. Like Zeus, man, Zeus had a lot of babies. That's what they say in the book. He had a lot of children. Like, it's stupid. I was gonna read some of it, but you can read it if you want. It's a waste of time to me. But you good with that though, bro?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Praise the Lord.
I just need a little information. I was already okay about it when I already knew, but I got a wife and I got a 10-month-old son,
Right.
and trying to explain it to her because like for everybody, because like she was saying, that's what you knew. That's what you knew because your people did it and your people still doing it and
Right.
they still doing their thing. And it's hard for her. She already admitted it's hard for her, but she said she respected and everything. It's just hard for her.
Show her this then. Show her this. Let's go over to Matthew real quick. Matthew chapter 7. I know she believed in Jesus. Huh?
Mhm.
Yeah, I already know. Yeah, I mean she she on the fence with this.
Yeah.
Because she done came here before.
Yeah.
A couple of times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So she kinda on the fence. So, you don't wanna like kick over the head, but just of course stand your ground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, look here, this ain't what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? But take a here right quick. I ain't mean to say 7, I meant to say 10. Matthew chapter 10. Now this Jesus now. This out the mouth of the master. At this time, if you want to call him sweet Jesus, all right, call him that. You know what I mean? But it's coming from his mouth. So pick it up at Matthew chapter 10 and verse 34. I'm sorry, 33. Go ahead.
But whosoever shall deny me before men, him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven.
So the Lord said, guess what? If you deny me before men, I'm going to deny you before my Father that's in heaven. Keep reading though.
Think not that I am come to send peace on earth.
Go ahead.
I came not to send peace, but a sword.
So the Lord said he ain't come to send no peace. Like, he came to send a sword. Because, like, nah, you going to have the Pope coming. He going to be talking about peace, peace, peace. Nah, Jesus said, I ain't come to send no peace. I came to bring a sword. The sword is this word of God. Because check out what it's going to do. Verse 35.
For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law.
So Jesus said, guess what? I am come to set a man at variance. That mean against. That mean I come to set a man at variance or against his father, his daughter, the daughter against the mother, the daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law. Like, all of that is going to be against one another. Why? It's because the son probably started telling dad, like, look here, dad, I can't eat pork no more. Like, Jesus said not to eat it in Leviticus chapter 11. I can't eat it no more. I can't eat shrimp, catfish. I can't eat any of that. As well as I can't partake in Christmas no more. I'm not coming to mama's house for any more Christmas dinners, man. I can't do it. That's a variance right there because dad might buck and be like, I ain't raised you like that, son. I raised you this way. You know what I mean? That pork that you talking about you don't eat no more, shoot, you was raised up off of that. That's how he gonna come back. That's variance right there. But check out what it said in verse 36 though.
And a man's foes shall be they of his own household.
So a man inside of his own household gonna have enemies. His enemies gonna be his wife, his children, whomever the case may be that ain't willing to serve Jesus the way it's written. Like, they are now gonna be your enemy because now they looking at you like you crazy. They looking at you walking around and be like, man, I ain't buying no tree. And you better not bring no tree in this house. Now, not from just, and I'm just not using you, I'm just saying an example, period. You know what I mean? Not from just her, but shoot, now here come her mom. You know what I mean? Here come her daddy. Here come her sisters and brothers. Now they all gathered up against you like you tripping. I went through the same thing with my sisters now. You know what I mean? Like they thought that I was tripping. I was like, nah, sis, I'm straight. I told my mama the day I met Nate and them, and the very couple of days later, them Jakes was in my living room bringing the gospel, and they showed me that Jeremiah 10. I jumped on the phone 2 hours after they left my house and said, Mom, I'm not coming home for Christmas, Thanksgiving, any of that no more. You know what I mean? And like at that time, I was like 28, 29 years old. You know what I mean? But I completely said, no, I'm good. The response back when that was like, what got into you, son? What you mean what got into me, Mom? The word of God. So in other words, Jesus is saying right here is that, look, a man's foes, which is enemies, is going to be of his own household. What is it in verse 37?
He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me.
Go ahead.
And he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me.
Now you got to realize Jesus saying this is because, guess what? As a young boy growing all the way up, traditionally, we've been taught these customs. So now you got a seed coming behind you, and now you feel in a certain way, like, dang, I had it. Why I can't give it to him? So eventually you go ahead and give it to him. Well, guess what Jesus said? If you love your children more than me, like you're not worthy of me. Guess what? If you go and decide to go along with your wife, and I'm just saying in general, or the wife decide to go along with the husband, guess what? The wife got to listen to the husband. That's just the case. You know what I mean? According to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, she gonna be the husband gonna be saved because of her. Even in Peter say that the woman got to be subjected to her husband. So it ain't no the wife bucking at the husband, but yet the husband is the one that's gonna set the foundation in the household. So in other words, you're not finna roll with my wife on this year, baby. We'll just do Christmas this one year. Nah, because you know what? Jesus just said, you are not even worthy of me. What he said in verse 38 though?
And he that taketh not his cross and followeth after me is not worthy of me.
So being that it's so hard, you got to realize is that Jesus said, guess what? If you don't refuse the things of the world, guess what? You're not worthy of him. Like he gonna reject you before the Father. Let's go look at one more place. And this is something that you can like, you can this is something that you can show your wife and just be like, look here, babe, I know you believe in Jesus, but check out what Jesus talking about. Jesus said, refuse lands, friends. Check out this one right here. Refuse. Where is it at? You know what it is? Where it say, refuse lands, friends in the Bible. You don't know what it's at? Look. Where is it? Refuse. I know it's on. Hold on.
Matthew 10.
Yeah, he said somewhere else too though. It's in John. That's where it's at. John chapter John chapter. Hold on, Julius. I'm gonna say how long because I might be wrong. You type it up and it ain't the right location.
Try
Mark 10.
What is that?
It says, then Peter began to say unto him, Lo, we have left all and have followed thee. And Jesus answered and said, Verily I say unto you, there is no man that hath left house, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother.
Yeah, that's it. Where is that?
Mark 10:28.
That's it. Mhm. So we're started on
You said Mark.
Mark chapter 10. Mark 10, and let's pick it up at pick it up verse 28.
Then Peter began to say unto him, Lo, we have left all, and have followed thee.
Go ahead.
And Jesus answered and said, Verily I say unto you, there is no man that hath left his house, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my sake, the gospel.
Keep reading on verse 30.
But he shall receive an hundredfold now in this time, houses, and brethren, and sisters, and mothers, and children, and lands, with persecution, and in the world to come, eternal life.
So you're going to get persecution with all of this, man. You know what I mean? But you're going to get eternal life when you persecuted them. So, you know, man, that's how you got to deal with that. But you definitely want to be you definitely want to be wise, you know, because you got to realize, like, I mean, your wife, she was here. You still here. That's the battle right there. You know what I mean? The battle is like, you still remain dealing with the truth. Because all she doing is watching you. You know what I mean? All she doing, that's what that conscience sake was about. You know what I mean? If you decide to, go to a Christmas party or, you know, partake in this pertaining to paganism, then it's just going to be like, I can get them. She's going to come. You know what I mean? Like, it might be to the point where something else might come about. So you just got to make sure you stand strong on your square. And you know, man, the Lord is able, man. So that's it on that. Anybody else? Yes,
I was
ma'am.
wondering about Ecclesiastes 3:3 and when a time to kill would be.
Was you good on that, G?
Oh yeah, I'm good. Fuck.
Okay. Praise the Lord. Ecclesiastes, you said 3 and 3? He said, when is the time to kill again?
Well, like when would an example of that? Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just that or the whole verse 3? You know, there's a lot of other stuff.
No, I was just wondering about that, and then just like how it pertains to like thou shalt not kill.
Okay, I got you.
Mhm.
I got you. Let's start it at verse 2. I'm at verse 1.
To everything there is a season.
I'm sorry. The question is pertaining to Ecclesiastes chapter 3. When is that time, or when will that time be again to kill, even though the commandments say thou shalt not kill? Correct? Okay. All right. All right, you go ahead, brother.
To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven.
Go ahead.
A time to be born, and a time to die.
Keep going.
A time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted.
Go ahead.
A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up.
So a time to break down and build up, but a time to kill. All right. So the commandments say thou shalt not kill. Let's go over here to Exodus real quick. Exodus. Exodus 30. Exodus 32. Exodus 32. And, and let's pick it up. What you gotta understand is that, I mean, you know, when the commandments say thou shalt not kill, because we're gonna even read somewhere in the scripture where like it say something along the lines, I think if a man killed somebody out of mistake or whatever, he's supposed to go and hide out amongst. I think that's in Leviticus. We're gonna go and read that, but you know, he killed somebody by mistake. You know what I mean? So it's, but we're gonna read that. But what we finna read right here is we finna read how the Lord told Moses to go about the camp and kill both men and women, because what they was doing, they took this calf and made it an image and started worshiping. Most of the time is, all of the time, when we read in the commandment, or when we read in situations that took place with God, when he was killing evil from amongst the people. So even in the commandment, you know, you and your fiance, y'all out and about, and like somebody roll up on y'all, and it comes to the level of death, I'm pretty sure your fiance gonna put his life on the line. He gonna do whatever it is to protect his wife. That's what he gonna do. That's what I would do. You know what I mean? Somebody breaking my house right now in the middle of the night, like they might be dead. Why? Is because I'm protecting my household. You know what I mean? So like, you know, am I just going out to like just kill at will? Nah, I ain't doing that. You know what I mean? But in a line of defense, like I'm gonna defend myself. I'm gonna defend. Now, me personally, I'm gonna try and get away from the situation. You know what I mean? Like if I'm solo, I'm gonna try and avoid as much confrontation as I possibly can. All right, bro, you got it. Yeah, you got it. All right, I'm sorry. Whatever I need to do to humble myself to keep the situation at ease. But if I'm out with my family and we deep, like, nah, what gotta happen is I gotta protect my family because we probably can't get away quick enough. So I gotta do something that's gonna, you know what I mean, kill this situation. Hopefully it don't come to death. But if that's what it comes to, like, it's not out of me just cold-blooded killing somebody. It's me out of the protection of my household. But even right here, what we're about to read is, we finna see that God told Moses to kill everybody that's against him, to go throughout the camp. Let's read it. Exodus 32, and let's pick it up at verse 16. Go ahead.
And the tables were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God, graven upon the tables.
So the commandments was graven upon the tables. This is all the writing of God. Go ahead.
And when Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said unto Moses, there was a noise of war in the camp.
Go ahead.
And he said, it is not the voice of them that shout for mastery, neither is it the voice of them that cry for being overcome.
Go ahead.
But the noise of them that sing do I hear.
So they sing. What they sang it to? Verse 19.
And it came to pass, as soon as he came nigh unto the camp, that he saw the calf.
Go ahead.
And the dancing, and Moses' anger waxed hot.
Go ahead.
And he cast the tables out of his hand and brake them beneath the mount.
Verse 20.
And he took the calf which they had made and burnt it in the fire, and ground it to powder, and strawed it upon the water, and made the children of Israel drink of it.
So Moses tripped. You know what I mean? Like he beat down the image to the point where it was powder, and now he's strawed up on water, and he made the children of Israel drink it. But skip down to verse 26 and read that. I'm sorry, verse 25 and read that.
And Moses saw that the people were naked.
Now the people was naked because they was without God at this point. You know what I mean? Like they wasn't dealing with God no more. So now they naked, meaning like they ain't got no barrier or protection about them. But keep reading though.
For Aaron had made them naked unto their shame among their enemies.
So Aaron, you know, he was the cause behind it. You know, he was the one that made them naked unto their shame. So what the scriptures say, verse 26.
Then Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, Who is on the Lord's side?
So who is on the Lord's side? This is what Moses is saying. Go ahead.
Let him come unto me. And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together unto him.
Go ahead.
And he said unto them, Thus says the Lord God of Israel, Put every man his sword by his side, and go in and out from gate to gate throughout the camp, and slay every man his brother, and every man his companion, and every man his neighbor.
Go ahead, verse 28.
And the children of Levi did according to the word of Moses. And there fell of the people that day about 3,000 men.
So 3,000 men was killed. About 3,000 men was killed because, like, shoot, they was worshiping this image. But the question was asked is like, who gonna be on the Lord's side? I guess 3,000 of them went on the Lord's side because they got killed. But keep reading though.
For Moses has said, consecrate yourself to the day, today to the Lord, even every man upon his son and upon his brother, that he may bestow upon you a blessing this day.
Go ahead.
And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses said unto the people, Ye have sinned, a great sin.
Go ahead.
And now I will go up unto the Lord, peradventure, I shall make an atonement for your sin.
Let's go over here on
Peradventure.
peradventure. Let's go over here on I just forgot what I wanted to know. Let's go over here on oh yeah. How do you say it? Hold on. What do you call? Let's go over to Kings real quick. You gotta realize, like, David was a killer. You know what I mean? Like, David was a straight killer. Like, man, I don't know. I'm finna be in the room with David. You know what I mean? Cause, like, David was, but he was doing it all in the name of the Lord. He was doing it all in the name of the Lord. He wasn't just, you know what I mean, just killing this people and that people. He was killing them because, like, look here. This is what the Lord commanded. There was a reason behind this. But nah, let's go look at Saul first. Saul, let's go to Samuel. Samuel, 1 Samuel, chapter 15. Hold on for a second before I forget this, so I can talk about this scripture. Don't let me forget to show you about how they hid out the men who killed. Don't let me forget to show you that, because
Okay.
where we at? 1 Samuel chapter 15. And let's pick it up at Let's pick it up at verse 1.
15.
Yeah, 15:1. not 1. Let's pick it up at verse 3. 15:3.
Now go and smite Amalek, and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both men and women, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass.
So the Lord told Saul to go and destroy the Amalekites, because when Israel was leaving out of Egypt, you know what I mean? Like the Amalekites, they came up and they made war against, Israel. They didn't let Israel pass through, because Israel, after they had left Egypt, you know what I mean? Like the Amalekites, they tried to block them up. So like the Lord remembered that. So now he telling Saul, guess what? Go and destroy the Amalekites. You know what I mean? Like kill them all. That's what he said. He said what? Verse 3, he said, smite the Amalekites, utterly destroy all, they spare them not. Slay both men and women, infant, suckling, ox, sheep, camel. So in other words, kill everything. Killing babies and all. What he said in verse 4?
And Saul gathered the people together and numbered them in Telim, 200,000 footmen,
Go ahead.
and 10,000 men of Judah. And Saul came to a city of Amalek and laid wait in the valley.
Skip down to verse 7.
And Saul smote the Amalekites from the Havilah,
Yeah.
until thou comest to shore,
Go ahead.
that is over against Egypt.
What he did in verse 8. Go ahead.
And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites.
So he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites. Like he spared some. He spared the king. But this was the one that he was supposed to kill. Keep reading though.
And Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword.
So he killed all the people with the edge of the sword, but he kept the Amalekite, the king Agag, the Amalekite. Skip down to verse 13 and read that.
Then came the word of the Lord unto Samuel, saying, it repented me that I have set up Saul to be king.
So it repented the Lord that he set up Saul to be king. Why?
For he is turned back from following me,
Go ahead.
and have not performed my commandments.
So he hasn't performed my commandment. Like I commanded him to go and kill the Amalekite, but yet he didn't perform it. So I repented to have even made him king. Go ahead.
And it grieved Samuel, and he cried unto the Lord all night.
Skip down to verse 13 and read that.
And Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said unto him, Blessed be thou of the Lord. I have performed the commandments of the Lord.
Go ahead.
And Samuel said, What meaneth then this bleating of the sheep in my ears?
So what man is this bleating? Like I keep hearing these sheep talking about bad, but you talking about some, destroyed everything. But I hear these sheep in the background in my ears. Go ahead.
And the lowing of the oxen which I hear.
And I hear the oxen as well. What Saul said in 15?
And Saul said, They have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and of the oxen to sacrifice unto the Lord thy God.
Go ahead.
And the rest we have utterly destroyed.
Skip down to verse 20 and read that.
And Saul said unto Samuel, Yea, I have obeyed the voice of the Lord, and have gone the way which the Lord sent me, and have brought Agag, the king of
Amalekites.
Amalekites, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. My bad. Verse 21.
But the people took of the spoil sheep and oxen, the chief of the things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice unto the Lord thy God in Gilgal.
Skip down to read verse 22.
And Samuel said, Have the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams.
So he letting them know is that, look here, man, you should have did what I told you to do. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Like them animals you bringing to sacrifice before me, like nah. It was better for you to kill everyone, like I said.
Mhm.
Skip down to verse 27 and read that.
And as Samuel turned about to go away, he laid hold upon the skirt of his mantle, and it rent. And Samuel said unto him, The Lord hath rent the kingdom of Israel from thee this day.
So he don't rent the kingdom from you this day. 32, read that.
Then said Samuel, Bring ye hither to me Agag.
So Samuel like, hey, bring that king here. Go ahead.
Agag, the king of the Amalekites. And Agag came unto him delicately. And Agag said, Surely the bitterness of death is past.
Go ahead.
And Samuel said, As thy sword have made women childless, so shall thy mother be childless among women.
Go ahead.
And Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before the Lord in Gilgal.
Before the Lord. Like he did this all because the Lord commanded so. He commanded something to be done, and it was done. You know what I mean? Like what he said in front of he said before that, he was like, your sword have made many children, many women childless. So now I'm gonna make you childless before your mom. And he hewed them in all kind of pieces. Let's go over to no, we ain't gotta go to Kings. We're gonna go to let's go to Numbers real quick. Cause this way he said that. Hold on. Go down. If a man kill a man innocently, he gonna go out and hide for 7 years in the Bible. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's go over to Numbers real quick. Numbers chapter 5. Did I say 5? I didn't say. I meant to say, hold on. Not Numbers chapter 5, but Numbers chapter 15. Because he said something to this. At the end of this, the Lord said something while he killed the man picking up stone sticks. This is right now. Famine war. Did he say that? Because he said something.
When he picked up the stick.
Nah, he like when he killed them. Camp on stone that he died in the Lord commanded respect. When he killed them, it's another place. I thought it was in here, but when he killed them, he said to put evil from the presence of the children of Israel. I thought it was in this. Is that bad, guys? Oh, that was a little boy. I thought that was Tony. Little Tony.
That was Tony. The presence of the people. Anybody know what I said? But hold on. It's saying Romans chapter 7 and 21, but I can't get it. Hold on, Miss Claire. Let's go get to
Deuteronomy 17.
yeah. I was about was about to say let's go to Deuteronomy, but or Leviticus. I was going to say one. So what are you talking about? 17, let's pick it up at verse 6. But hold on. Yeah. Let's pick it up at verse 5.
7 verse 5.
17.
Verse 5.
Then shalt thou bring forth that man or that woman which have committed that wicked thing unto thy gates, even that man or that woman, and shalt stone them with stones till they die.
Nah, we talking about the wicked thing. Let's go back up and let's start at 17 and 1. Go ahead.
Thou shalt not sacrifice unto the Lord thy God any bullock or sheep wherein is blemish, or any evil favoredness, for that is an abomination unto the Lord thy God.
So that's an abomination. You sacrificing a lamb with 3 legs. You know what I mean? Got a blemish. So you ain't supposed to sacrifice that unto the Lord. So that's why he said, evil favoredness, for that is an abomination unto the Lord thy God. Verse 2.
If there be found among you within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, man or woman, that have wrought wickedness in the sight of the Lord thy God, and transgressing his covenant,
Go ahead.
and have gone and served other gods, and worshipped them, either the sun or moon, or any of the host of heaven, which I have not commanded.
Exactly. That go all the way back to that Jeremiah chapter 10. You know what I mean? Like, the Lord said, like, shoot, you worshiping, any host of the heaven, the sun or the moon, which he have not commanded. Go ahead.
And it be told thee, and thou hast heard of it, and inquired diligently. Can't get that word out. And behold, it be true, and the thing certain, that such abomination is wrought in Israel.
Go ahead.
Then shalt thou bring forth that man or that woman which have committed that wicked thing unto thy gates, even that man or that woman, and thou and shalt stone them with stones till they die.
Till they died. Now, this is what took place in that Exodus 32 as well. You know what I mean? When like Moses and, the children of Levi, they went out to camp and was killing. They was killing them people at like 3,000 is because they was worshiping a calf. They was worshiping an idol. So like now, the Lord is like, man, if that's done, guess what? Y'all gonna bring them before the gate and stone them with stones. Where at that time, I guess it was so many. Shoot, let's go ahead and slay them. Stoning 3,000 people, that might take a long time. So just go ahead and just slay them right now. But what he said in verse 6.
At the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death.
Go ahead.
But at the mouth of 1 witness he shall not be put to death.
So at the mouth of 1 witness. Now you gotta have 2 witnesses. So he's letting you know is that like 1 witness, I ain't gonna be put to death. But 2, he's worthy of being put to death. What is that in verse 7?
The hands of the witnesses shall be first upon him to put him to death.
Go ahead.
And afterward the hands of all the people. So thou shalt put the evil away from among you.
So this is what the whole purpose of it. Because I know you don't heard the saying, 1 bad apple spoil the whole bunch. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, at the time to kill, you got to realize when Jesus returned, that's all he's going to be doing. It's killing. Why? It's because they still partaking in worshiping other gods. They still partaking in fornicating. Let's go ahead to Revelation real quick. They still partaking in all type of worship. So they're going Revelation chapter where is it at? when the Lord returns, the Lord gonna be whooping them so bad that they're not even gonna repent. Like they still gonna be cursing the God of gods. When he returns, like he gonna be dropping so much wrath on them that they gonna still be blaspheming the Lord. This is why, you know what I mean? Like they gotta be killed. They ain't nothing at this time but just being sacrificed. You know, even when he returns, he gonna kill the nation of Esau. Now, is he gonna kill off all of Esau? I don't think so. But as a nation, he gonna kill them off. That's gonna be a sacrifice. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it gotta take place to get rid of sin. See, that's what that was all about. You know what I mean? Getting sin from the presence of the people. Because guess what? All right, 3,000 was worshiping a calf. Guess what? Now 6,000. You know what I mean? Not 9,000. Not 12,000. But yet, you know what I mean? You don't kill off 3,000. So now this multitude is in fear of God because they just saw him kill now 3,000 people. Like, I don't want to mess with him. So even along our level, you know what I mean? Like, we want to avoid the situation to the utmost as we can, but now when our family is involved, like, I'm gonna protect my family. That's what I'm gonna do. You know, but am I just going out being a cold-blooded killer? Nah, I ain't doing that. So Revelations chapter 14. Hold on. Don't let me forget that one scripture either, correct?
Oh yeah, I got it.
Last thing. What is it? What he said? They didn't repent and they were blaspheming the God in the Bible. Revelation 16, yep. There we go. Revelation 16, and pick it up at verse 11.
And blaspheme the God of heaven
Well,
because
you know
of
what? I'm sorry. Start at verse 10. Now this right here is the wrath of God. You know what I mean? Like when you're looking at these vials and these trumpets, you know, this is pertaining to God. But when you look at the seals, you know, that's coming from man. So now in this Revelation 16, you know, we hear trumpets and we hear vials being opened. So now in verse 10, we're going to see that the fifth angel poured out his vial. Go ahead.
and the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain,
Go ahead.
and blasphemed the God of heaven because of their pains and their swords, and repented not of their deeds.
So they repented not of their deeds. Like you now at this time, God isn't back on this earth. He's just the 45 days of wrath. You know what I mean? Like this is in this time frame where like now the Lord is just dropping the hammer on this earth, dropping the hammer. And guess what people are doing? They're not repenting from their deeds. So like, you know, eventually they got to be killed because the Lord ain't finna have this in his kingdom. Let's go over to Revelation 22. But before we go to Revelation 22, let's go to Ezekiel real quick. Ezekiel chapter 18. Well, not 18. I don't know. I'll see it when I get to it. I think it's like 28 or 30 something. Ezekiel. Is it 18? Yeah, Ezekiel chapter 20. Ezekiel chapter 20. And all we doing is just looking at, you know, how there's a cause behind why the Lord was having Moses to kill off, you know what I mean, those people who was worshiping this calf. We saw in Deuteronomy 17 is the reason why God had these people stoned, even in Numbers chapter 15, while the man was stoned for picking up sticks on the Sabbath. Like all of that is evil, contrary to the Lord. So like the Lord, that's the whole purpose of what? The Feast of Unleavened Bread. You know what I mean? Is that you getting that, you becoming a new lump. You know what I mean? You becoming unleavened, meaning you without sin. So guess what? If you got leaven amongst unleavened, guess what that leaven gonna do? It's gonna eventually overtake the unleavened, and it's gonna make the unleavened leaven.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So that's what's gonna happen with sin. If we got a whole room full of people that sin, but yeah, we got two people in the corner over there who doing their best to serve the Lord. Guess what's gonna happen? Them two are eventually gonna come into acquaintance with, you know what I mean, and so forth and so forth. And now you're gonna have a room full of people that sin. Well, that's even dealing with the body of Christ. Is that it's us against everybody in this hotel room or everybody on this whole strip. We the only ones in this area right now, possibly I can say, is keeping the Sabbath. Everybody else is completely contrary. So guess what we doing? We trying to beat down not being like the world through the word of God. You know what I mean? So we getting rid of that evil by scripture.
Mhm.
You know, but at the same time, along the line of defense, I'm sorry. In other words, we trying to keep that out of our present life. That's the same thing with what God is doing when he was showing how, you know, he killed the 3,000, how he killed the woman and the man that was worshiping other images. He was keeping them out of the presence of affecting the whole multitude of people with sin. So that's the way he got rid of it, by killing it off so it don't be amongst the people. So even right here in this Ezekiel chapter 20, this is prophecy that's going to come to pass. It hasn't happened yet, but this is at the gathering of Israel. When the Lord gathered the nation of Israel, before he allowed them to go into the land, guess what they got to do? They got to deal with these commandments. Let's read it though. So Ezekiel chapter 20, and let's pick it up at verse 32. Go ahead.
And that which cometh into your mind shall not be at all, that ye say, we will be as the heathen, as the families of the countries, to serve wood and stone.
Go ahead.
As I live, saith the Lord, surely with a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out, will I rule over you.
Go ahead.
And I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered.
Keep reading.
With the mighty hand, and with the stretched out arm, and with fury poured out.
Go ahead.
And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face.
So he's going to plead with you face to face in the wilderness. Verse 36.
Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, saith the Lord.
37. Go ahead.
And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant.
Go ahead.
And I will purge out from among you the rebels.
So he's going to kill the rebels. That's what he's saying. Purge me. He's going to purge out the rebels. That's what it's saying in verse 38. I'm going to purge out the rebels that's among you. Go ahead.
And them that transgress against me.
So them that transgress against me, like I'm going to kill them off. Like I'm going to get them from around. They're not going to enter into the land. This can't come into the land. Go ahead.
I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel.
Go ahead.
And ye shall know that I am the Lord.
Let's go over to Revelations 22 now. So this is the main objective. You know what I mean? That's why the Father can't dwell amongst men. Not yet. You know what I mean? Because we corrupted, we evil, we polluted. Because like the Lord, like the Father, he'll kill us on the spot.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, nah, he ain't got no tolerance. Like, seriously. Like, man is evil. So, in other words, to get rid of evil, you got to kill it.
Mhm.
So let's look at Revelations 22, and let's pick it up at verse 12. Go ahead.
And behold, I come quickly. And my
Revelations 22 and 12.
12. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work shall be.
Go ahead.
I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last.
Go ahead.
Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city.
Now the ones that are gonna enter into the city are the ones that do his commandments. But what's not gonna enter through the city? Go ahead.
For without are dogs
Go ahead.
and sorcerers
Keep reading.
and whoremongers
Go ahead.
and murderers and idolaters and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie.
So, you know, these are the ones. Go back over here to Revelations 21 and just read verse 8. Because this was going to happen to those, the ones that's not going to enter into the city. Go ahead, verse 8, 21 and 8.
But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and the murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
So they're going to be killed forever. But even I mean, you can go on and on about, you know, a time to kill, because, you know, it's going to be a time to kill, like I said, even before the Lord returns. You're going to have, what, the two witnesses. You know what I mean? The Lord going to have them as Moses and Aaron. And they're going to be killing up the army, but they're going to eventually die. But, you know what I mean? It's all done, not, you know what I mean, like cold cases. But like, you know, people are just killing randomly and that's that. Nah, they all killing in the name of the Lord. So, you know, like I was saying, because you looked kind of confused, Tony, when I said the two olive trees. Or was you just had this look on your face?
No, I was a little confused when you said it.
Oh, you was
Like,
looking
no, because
confused?
I heard it before, like.
Yeah, the two olive trees, those are gonna be the two witnesses. And like they're gonna be, like I said, I mean, well, like the scripture said, they're gonna be your Aaron, they're gonna be your Moses and Aaron, how they went in Egypt and how they was doing all the wonders against the Egyptians. Well, like you're gonna have two witnesses, they're gonna be doing almost the same thing. They're gonna be going up against the armies, against Rome and their armies, but they're gonna be killed. That's why in the scriptures they say they're gonna die, and then the Lord gonna say, "Get up here," and they spirit, they're gonna come back alive.
They're gonna be killed for doing the Lord's work.
They're gonna be killed because they're gonna be overcame. Like meaning, like, shoot, let's read it instead of me sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've heard about those two before. I'm like,
It's a revelation. Right?
Yeah, Revelations like Revelation 13 or 17.
They're gonna be overcame by temptation.
Nah, they're gonna be the armies. Like the army, they're gonna kill them.
Oh, okay.
It's in Revelations 13.
Oh, so the killers are bad?
Yeah, because it's gonna be Rome army.
yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna be Rome army.
You talking about the two priests that
The two olive trees.
Gotcha.
What is that? 13. Had power and life of the beast. Names of the beast, the beast speak called small and great. No man like his wisdom, let him have 600 million. They led in captivity. Let me Google it. I know it's in Zechariah. Let me look at that. Zechariah, you know it first.
It's, Revelation 11.
It's in 11.
Yeah. 11:4.
So he's on there Google today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can pick it up at verse 3, 11 and 3.
and I will give power unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy in 1,260 days.
So they're gonna prophesy through the tribulation period, the 3.5 years. Alright, they're gonna be prophesying, they're gonna be doing wonders. Like God gonna give them power to like shut up heaven. That's what it's gonna say, I think, in the next verse. Go ahead, read.
Clothed in sackcloth. These are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth.
Go ahead, verse 5.
And if any man will hurt them, fire proceeded out of their mouth
So they're gonna have fire proceeding out of their mouth. Go ahead.
and devour their enemies.
Who they gonna devour?
their enemies.
So the enemies, they're gonna be killing the enemies. Go ahead.
And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed.
So if any man hurt them, they gotta be killed. Verse 6, go ahead.
These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy,
Go ahead.
and have power over waters to turn them to blood,
Go ahead.
and to smite the earth with all plagues, as often as they will.
So they're gonna have power to smite the earth with all type of plagues, like Aaron and Moses did, or like Moses and Aaron did in the days of Egypt. What is in verse 7?
And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them,
So now the beast that is sent out the bottomless pit, they're gonna make war against them. Go ahead.
and shall overcome them and kill them.
So they're gonna be killed. But check out verse 8 though.
And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified.
So where also our Lord was crucified. That's Golgotha, right? And that's where Jesus was killed. That's what we read today. Well, what it say in verse 9 though?
And they of the people of kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half,
So they're gonna lay in the body for 3 days and a half. Go ahead.
and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves.
So their bodies ain't even gonna be put in graves. They're just gonna be out in the street for 3 days and a half. What it say in verse 10?
And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry.
So they're gonna be rejoicing like, shoot, we don't kill these 2 olive trees. Like we don't. It's supposed to be a God. Well, yeah, we don't kill them. They're gonna be rejoicing and merry. Go ahead.
And shall send gifts to one another,
So they're gonna be giving gifts. Keep reading.
because these 2 prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth.
Verse 11.
And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from God entered into them,
Go ahead.
and they stood up upon their feet,
Go ahead.
and great fear fell upon them which saw them.
I'd be afraid too. You know what I mean? If I just thought I killed these people and after 3 days they back alive? Seriously? So great fear fell upon these people. What is it in verse 12?
And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, Come up hither.
So this great voice told them to come up hither. Like to these ones that was dead, but the Spirit of God came back inside of them, not a voice from heaven, which is the Lord saying, come up hither. Go ahead.
And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them.
Now you know after the 3.5 years, what's that?
Jesus returned.
Exactly. So that's that trump. You know what I mean? They went up there to meet the Lord in the air. So yeah, they that's what that was, the 2 olive trees. But they're gonna be killed though. But you know, for 3.5 days they're gonna be brought back to life.
So they're gonna be killed 3.5 days before Jesus come back?
3.5 days before Jesus come back. They're gonna just lay in the street for 3.5 days.
I know, but when they ascend up to heaven,
Right. Was that 3.5 days before he
yeah.
I don't think that's
Oh,
what
okay.
I don't think that's what it was reading.
Oh,
I just
okay.
think it was just reading. That's what it was just reading, that they just laid in the streets
Okay.
for 3.5 days. But that could very well be. You know, that could. But see, Claire forgot. I ain't forget. You forgot?
No, the hideout
Okay.
for the guy that
Okay, yeah,
killed
okay.
someone
Hide out.
accidentally or because he's in danger.
Huh?
Like for someone who was like in danger and like killed someone or something.
Yeah, hide out. Killed the man by accident. Yeah. I think it's in Leviticus or something like that, where it was like, he killed the man innocently and he was able to hide out and set refugees. Yeah, set refugees. For 7 years in the Bible. Set refugee for 7 years in the Bible. Yeah, that's where it is. Numbers on 6 times. I think it's in Numbers 34.
Okay.
And he was, it was in the land. I think this is it. I'm finna go ahead and see. So I got it highlighted in it.
Numbers 34.
Yeah. This ain't it. Nah, that ain't it. Hold on. What's that? You ain't Googling it? You ain't Googling it?
Oh, for real, you get on fire.
Yeah.
What you looking for?
The man who killed the man innocently, he was able to.
Numbers 35.
That's it.
Yeah, 28. Numbers 35. 28.
Oh, about 35 and 28. You said 28. Yup, I got it highlighted. Yup. Whoso kill any person in murder shall be put to death by the mouth to him, but one witness shall not testify. You said 20 because he should have great land and said refuge until the day. Yeah, let's go up here to verse 25.
For numbers?
Yeah, numbers 35 and 25. Yeah.
And the congregation shall deliver the slayer out of the hand of the revenger of blood, and the congregation shall restore him to the city of his refuge, whither he was fled, and he shall abide in it until the death of the high priest, which was anointed with the holy oil.
Go ahead.
But if the slayer shall at any time come without the border of the city of refuge, whither he was fled, and the revenger of blood find him without the borders of the city of his refuge, the revenger of blood kill the slayer. He shall not be guilty of blood.
Hold on, we should have started up a lot higher. Yeah, let's go up here to yeah, let's go up here to is this talking about? Yeah, let's go up higher. Let's go up to 15.
35, 15.
Yeah, let's go up a little bit higher.
These 6 cities shall be a refuge, both of the children of Israel and for the stranger, and for the sojourner among them, that everyone that killeth any person unawares may flee thither.
So they killing them unaware. Like they got a place of refuge where they can go and flee at. But go ahead.
And if he smite him with an instrument of iron, so that he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death.
Now you see that, right? It says murderer. Because now, like, you know, murder is almost like you had you thought out the process. You know what I mean? Like you ain't trying to hurt nobody, you trying to kill them. So, well, I'm sorry, you trying to murder them. Because kill can be like, it's so much that can fall up under kill. You know what I mean? We saw that the Lord had Aaron and Moses to kill those that didn't follow the Lord. We saw that the Lord separated, you know, the nation of Israel from evil, so he killed it from among the nation. But yet, for me to protect my family, yeah, I might have to kill somebody, but did I murder them? Nah, because murder, you just cold-blooded killing somebody out of innocence. So we see right here, it says, and if he smite him with the instrument of iron so that he die, he is a murderer, and the murder shall be put to death. But keep reading, though, verse 17.
And if he smite him with a throwing stone, with throwing a stone, wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death.
Go ahead.
Or if he smite him with the hand weapon of wood, wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death.
So we seeing is that, like, apparently he's trying to kill him. He threw a stone, he hit him. You know what I mean? Like he took a weapon of wood and he killed him. So now he's considered a murderer. What is it in verse 19 though?
The revenger of blood himself shall slay the murderer. When he meeteth him, he shall slay him.
Go ahead.
But if he thrust him of hatred, or hurl at him by laying of weight, that he died, or in enmity smite him with his hand, that he died, he that smote him shall surely be put to death,
Go ahead.
for he is a murderer. The revenger of blood shall slay the murderer when he meeteth him.
Go ahead.
But if he thrust him suddenly without enmity, or have cast upon him anything without laying of weight, or with any stone wherewith a man may die, seeing him not, and cast it upon him that he died, and was not his enemy, neither sought his harm.
Nah, that ain't it.
That ain't it.
I mean, that's along the lines of what I was saying. Submission to the sins of refuge, walk into man, I swear I die not. Then you shall put your sins to be. I don't even think that was enough in there. I think this is it. I just think I misworded. So in other words, I think I was saying there's a place where you can hide out if you kill a man innocently.
I think, like, oh. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think, I just, like, when we saw in Numbers 35, we saw that, you know, if you want to kill a man with an instrument or a rock or a wood or whatever, like, you consider it murder. But, I'm trying to read it right now. No, I don't think that's what I was talking about. I think what I was talking about wasn't even of the Bible. I don't think, because I kept Googling it.
Didn't like one of David's sons or her like Abathar or someone like killed someone like they were angry about Tamar being raped and then one brother killed the other brother, then he went out to hide.
Yeah,
somewhere.
Absalom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he killed his brother. But then he also tried to kill his dad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Absalom, he started tripping. He tried to take over his daddy's throne and everything. But that, I mean, the Lord said that was going to happen to him after he had slept with Bathsheba. You know what I mean? He said, like, the sword was going to go through his own house. That's what he told David. Yeah, hold on, let me see, because I know that thing is on
So let's bring Sheba along. That's what we get from preaching.
That's what we get who?
That's what we get from preaching.
So what you talking about, man?
That's not that.
What is that? That's what I'm like. Yeah, we ain't hear you. He said, what we get who? Hold on, Aaron, 20, join the rain, do a false charge. Do not put innocent or honest person to death. Okay, Romans 9, Romans 13. For one is the majority of God's servants, Romans 13. Ezekiel, the wicked, the wicked person, you should have died. Genesis 9. The white blood should have been. Yeah, I think I just made that saying up in my head, Sister Claire. I just, like what we just read is that, if you kill somebody, by the sword, by instrument of iron, stone, or wood, and you can consider it a murder. You know what I mean? Like you had an intent to kill somebody. Now you consider it a murder. But, what we saw in the Bible pertains to the time to kill. I mean, we see that that was the case of the past, and it's gonna be the case of the future as well. We're gonna see that when the Lord returns, He's gonna do some killing, as well as prior to Him, like when He had the nation of Israel killing people, even with David, like he wasn't sinning in the eyes of God. He was just doing what the Lord commanded. So, I mean, if I get anything with that scripture I was looking for, then I'll hit you, Tony, with it. And he can share it with you. But anything else? Anybody? You said you had on?
Weary of the books that's out there, like, I know we read out the King James book, but you got them other books that endure, so you weary of the flesh.
Right. What about?
Or you want to expand on it?
Oh, you talking about that Ecclesiastes chapter 12?
12.
Yeah. There are many books there, make the flesh weary. Mm-hmm. Ecclesiastes chapter 12. And let's pick it up at verse 9.
And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge.
Go ahead.
Yea, he gave good heed and sought out and set in order many proverbs.
So Solomon, like he wasn't, he was teaching the people the wisdom of God. So it says he was wise because what? It said he was wise, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge of God. But what it say in verse 10?
The preacher sought to find out acceptable words, and that which was written was upright, even words of truth.
Go ahead.
The words of the wise are as goads,
Go ahead.
and as nails fastened by the master of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd.
So this is what the words of the wise are. That's just like Goaz. You assemble them in the wall, or however they assemble them. The nails are fastened by the master of assembly. Well, that's just how the words of the wise is. You know what I mean? It's like a steady, sound foundation. But what it say in verse 12 though?
And further, by these my son be admonished of making many books. There is no end.
Go ahead.
And much study is a weariness of the flesh.
And that can be the case. You know what I mean? Because when you look at all these other books, like there's never an end to them. You know what I mean? Like it's always a book. 1 year is going to be a book. The next year is going to be a book. So forth and so forth. So, Solomon is like, man, it's weary to the flesh. Much studying is a weariness of the flesh. And it truly is. Now, we're talking about, the Bible. Like, nah, it ain't weird. But we talking about, like he said, making many books. There is no end. So all these other books that keep coming about on the scene, like, there's no end to it. So studying it can be weirdness because you think that, this book is the answer. Now guess what? It got a sequel. Now so forth, it got another sequel. And so forth until you like, well, dang. I'm out here studying all these books and it ain't no end to them. But we can understand that the Bible has an end. We can see that the end was called at the beginning. You know what I mean? We can read that. So we see that there is an end to the Bible, and that end is when Jesus set up his kingdom on this earth. After his kingdom is reigned for 1,000 years, then he's going to pass this kingdom off to the Father. We know that. But what it say in verse 13 though?
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter.
Go ahead.
Fear God and keep his commandments.
Keep reading.
For this is the whole duty of man.
This is the whole duty of man, to fear God and keep his commandments. Like understanding that, of course there's going to be book on top of book on top of book, but guess what? The whole duty of man is to fear God and keep his commandments. Why? Verse 14.
For God shall bring every work into judgment.
Go ahead.
With every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
So the Lord is going to bring every secret out to the light. Whether it be good or evil, like the Lord is going to put it on Front Street. But, man, when you get away from the Bible, that's when you start venturing into these other books. Because usually, they can't understand the Bible. So they need something to be added. Because I was actually playing around with that the first couple of years when I was dealing with the Word. You know what I mean? Like I was reading the book of Jasher. I was reading the book of Enoch. You know what I mean? I thought all that was included in the Bible, but no, it wasn't. Because those books is going to be contrary. I even got an apocrypha in my bathroom. It's still in my little basket. I used to read it in my early years, but you know, now when I see it, it don't line up with the prophecy of the scriptures. It has no prophets inside of the apocrypha. Like there's no prophets. You know what I mean? Like Maccabees, Second Ezra, like we got Ezra right here. We understand that the Maccabees, it was Maccabean kings, you know what I mean? But like when you go and read the Apocrypha, like it's no prophets inside of the Apocrypha. You know what I mean? Like there's no, there's no,
You got Bill and Dragon.
yeah, you know what I mean? That's a book too.
What?
It's a book in the Apocrypha called Bill the Dragon.
Bill and the Dragon.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Talking about how like, you know, they had the dragon and they fed it food and the food was gone and this and that. Like, come on, man, for real. Like, you know, even the statement pertaining to yeah, it was inside the Bible. Okay, I guess if you say so. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like, there's, it's. I mean, I've read it. There's no, the wisdom of what is it? The wisdom of Solomon. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like those are like we got the wisdom of Solomon through Ecclesiastes, through Proverbs, through Songs of Solomon. Like we got the wisdom. You know what I mean? Like seriously, we understand what the wisdom of Solomon is right here through these 3 or 4 books that he got inside of this Bible. You know, so I mean, the book of Enoch. I mean, it tell you that men sleep with angels. That's what it teaches. You know what I mean? That men sleep with angels. That ain't nothing but this right here. It's Greek mythology. That's all it is. Like, you know, angels sleeping with, that's Greek mythology. Even the Lord said that, you know, angels, they're not given in marriage as you and I are. That's not what their purpose is. You know what I mean? But that's what the book of Enoch will teach you. It'll also teach you that Enoch is in the 3rd heaven. That's a lie. You know what I mean? So in other words, all of it is on the contrary to this right here. So the only reason why, you know, I mean, it's cool to read it, but for entertainment, yeah. But to make it doctrine, nah. Because right here, what? Jesus said it, Paul said it, even we read in Deuteronomy chapter 17. The only way you can stone a man is by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, not one. One man can't get a person killed. Even Paul said, out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every fact be established. Even Jesus said, I myself and the Father, we are 2. You know what I mean? So in other words, we can go through this Bible and line it up, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. And you can't do that through the book of Jasher. You can't do that through the book of Enoch. Like you can't. You know what I mean? It's almost like metaphors. That's what it's almost like when you read it. You know, but I mean, of course that's going to be the case. There are going to be many books that have no end. You know what I mean? And it can be weird to the flesh, but man, understand the Bible before anything, man, because that's the hardest of them all. It really is. The Bible is the hardest of them all. And like, you got elders who've been in this word for like 40, 30 years. They still ain't mastered the whole Bible. And that's all they've been reading just about for like 30, 40 years. And if they haven't mastered it, that means there's a lot in here that we all can't get within 30 to 40 year times, man. So my thing is like, why even waste your time on something that ain't even, you know, like I said, you can read it. You know, it's like I said, I read it. You know what I mean? So if you can always read to just want to debate. What I mean by that is like you got something in your pocket to realize that this book right here is no good. Like that's what you can really, you know, if you want to read it for. You know what I mean? Like you just really showing the people that it's crap. You know, like it ain't nothing. Like I got Quran. I got a Quran in my bag right now. You know what I mean? Am I reading it for my salvation? Nah. I'm reading it because if somebody come upon me with oh, the Quran this and the Quran that. I'd be like, pull it out, set the Quran right here, set the Bible right here, and let's read. And through your own book, you know, it'll be proven that it's false. What you about to say, Julius?
No, I was saying like even the elders knew that the Apocrypha was
Yeah,
the garbage. They took it out of the Bible. You know what I mean?
right,
They knew those books was non-canon, so
right. Yeah,
they knew that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
it's a
was it
blood
Martin
right.
Luther or somebody back in the day? They took the Apocrypha out of the Bible.
Yeah,
That's
if I'm not mistaken. I got it somewhere in my notes.
It's one of them guys. They knew it wasn't canon.
Right. Because they had like how they came about it, how they came up with the compilation of the Bible is that they had scholars. And like they had what my notes are. They had some scholars, right? And these scholars was out of Cambridge. And they had it to the point where they had how they pieced the Bible together. They had, hold on for a second. They had this scholar on this section of the book, and then they had these two scholars assigned. How it was done is that they had a group of people, scholars assigned to the Old Testament and the New Testament. And they immediately like eliminated the Apocrypha. Like it was eliminated. You know what I mean? Because like it didn't fit. You know what I mean? Like it didn't coincide with the Bible. You know what I mean? I got my notes in here. Hold on. About and then Jediah, he taught a class on it, about how the Bible was put together. But no, it's in this one. But nah, anybody else got anything else?
I have one more thing. I was wondering, like you were talking about how the Lord's feasts are determined by the moon, and how like the Sabbath is determined by the sun going down.
Hold on, say that first part again.
Like how you're saying like, oh, like the feast days are determined by like the moon, like which day they fall on.
Well, that just new moon just means new month. So
okay.
it just introduce, you know what I mean, the season that's gonna bring you into the Lord's feast day.
Oh, okay. Well, but I was wondering about the Sabbath day and like say like last night, like it was really stormy.
Right.
But like Jesus is in control of the weather, so I didn't know like when the Sabbath was starting, whether it was whenever the normal sundown would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So whenever that sun was out the sky, you know what I mean? That's
So say it was like really stormy though, and like the sun was probably still up, but we couldn't see it.
yeah. I mean, because you still gonna have light in the sky. You know what I mean? Because like when yeah.
No.
Well, in other words, the sun went down yesterday or sooner than because it was like dark at like 4 o'clock yesterday. You know what I'm saying?
No, it wasn't.
It was dark.
You talking like
a little blue light.
Yeah, it was like it was still stormy.
I mean, and that's gonna be the case too, though. Okay, but that's gonna be the case too, because when you get further and further in the winter of the season, like the days are gonna get short.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not that, there ain't no sun in the sky. I thought you were saying like that was because of the storm, and the storm just blocked it out. And
No.
that's like an eclipse or something.
Did y'all sun go down early now?
Cause that's what time
It was gloomy.
I'll go down about like 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
It
right.
was around
Yeah,
about
right.
6.
Y'all
Cause we
I don't understand how they still had sunlight and we didn't.
Yeah, it was dark.
Like
Early.
The sky was like black.
I thought it was clouds. Like
Early.
I just like it's storming outside. Like
Like
But even in the storm though, you can still see the sun.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
sorry, you can't see the sun. You can see
dark.
light in the sky.
barely.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it
just
was
barely see
there,
the
but
light,
it was so
barely.
dark yesterday.
It was
Like
dark yesterday.
I think it was just because of the storm. Like today, the sun's supposed to set at 6:30.
Yeah, it was dark yesterday.
I was like,
I know I went out there.
That's real dark, man.
It was
Like,
dark yesterday. I noticed it. I was like, it get dark quick. I was like, man, it's ain't 5 o'clock yet. It was
That's
dark.
like it
Like, I was
started,
right
cause it
on-
started snowing real bad. Like it was snowing and raining in Atlanta like around 2. I'm sorry, by around noon, right at noon. And it was still light out. It was just real gloomy looking, and there was snow coming.
I know what you mean. Like it'll get
Yeah.
dark from the storm sometimes. If you
Yeah, it
let
was
that
dark,
storm
man.
coming, it'll just get dark real quick. Like
It
it's
was
about to rain, you'll see
If it be hot in the sun.
Yeah, that's how it was.
Yeah,
It's about
like
rain
all
and
day yesterday.
the storm came a little bit. It
But
was
if
dark.
if that happened at noon, 3 in the afternoon, like
You know, it still ain't the
yeah,
same.
you still yeah. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
But
It's the Sabbath
I'm
still,
saying,
like-
for those of us that's trying to get things together for the Sabbath, it was kind of like tricky. Like, wait a minute,
Yeah, it was kinda
it's
tricky.
5
I was
o'clock,
like-
it was getting dark, you know.
yeah, they
so-
want
Right.
to do a
Just
CPR
don't-
training class at my work, and we're gonna be out at 5:30, but it's dark out the window, you
Yeah,
know.
it was dark.
Oh, really?
So I was like, yeah.
I mean, in situations like that, I mean,
And now we can look at our phone and see when the sun go down.
That's
too.
true.
I mean, so
Yeah.
we can look at that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
It'd be like
yeah,
7 o'clock.
yeah,
They got a
Dog at 5:30 or 6 o'clock.
right. So them phones ain't always, you know what I mean?
I just started at
Yeah.
6:30, like 6:15, 6:20. That's why I just call it. I just say.
But what you got, Julie?
I just call it a day.
Anybody else have anything before I ask a question?
John 10 and 22.
Man, he already had a question. He gonna come at you.
No, that was my question. But
Oh, okay.
Oh,
He took
Yeah.
your.
I
Oh,
was
he took your
asking him while
space.
y'all was talking. Maybe he could elaborate on it.
Are you tell somebody a question?
Oh, okay.
No, I was asking him about it while y'all was still talking.
John, what?
John 10 and 22.
Yeah, I was trying to see, was that considered a feast day? Does it say what it says on there? Or like, can you explain that verse?
Alright.
Cause I read past it and above it, try to see anything about it.
John 10 and 22. Feast dedication.
Yeah, is that or that just something?
No, that ain't no feast day, but that's feast dedication. That's Christ was doing. Let's read it.
Yeah, 'cause I was trying to figure it out.
Let's
10.
Dang, I saw that somewhere. No, I'm saying like feast dedication. I'm trying to think, cause I don't heard some, some brothers speak on this feast dedication. I just trying to remember what it's about. Let's start at verse 1.
10:1.
Yeah.
Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the porter openeth, and the sheep hear his voice. And he calleth his own sheep by name, and leadeth them out. And when he putteth forth his own sheep, he goeth before them, and the sheep follow him. And they know his voice. And the stranger will not follow, but will flee from him. And they know not the voice of strangers. This parable spake Jesus unto them.
Skip down to 14 and read that.
I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep, and am known of mine. As the Father knoweth me, even so know I the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep.
Go ahead.
And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice. And there shall be one fold, and one shepherd.
Keep reading.
Therefore doeth my Father love me, because I lay down my life, that I might take it again. No man taketh it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. This commandment have I received of my Father.
Go ahead.
There was a division, therefore, among the Jews for these sayings.
Go ahead.
And many of them said, He have a devil and is mad. Why hear ye him?
Go ahead.
Others said, They are not the words of him that have a devil. Can a devil open the eyes of the blind?
Period.
And it was at Jerusalem the feast of dedication, and it was winter.
Go ahead.
And Jesus walked in the temple of Solomon's porch. Then came the Jews round about him, and said unto him, How long doest thou make us to doubt?
Come on, Feast of Dedication. That's the whole. I forgot what that is.
Feast of who?
Feast of Dedication. That ain't a feast at all. I remember hearing somebody.
You know, I was asking, was it one? Cause I seen it and right here where you just read it.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
Oh, that's a good question, though.
Man, you ready to go, man. You got your bag, your board all packed up.
What you mean, bro? I had to clean up everything, man. I ain't want to be cleaned up at the end. Stop.
Oh, yeah. So,
Nah, man, don't do it like that.
Feast of Dedication today, huh? The one also called Feast of Maccabees.
Well, something.
Yeah, so I mean,
What was Second Chronicles 7?
That's not a command feast.
he said Second Chronicles. This right here, this Feast of Dedication, nah, that ain't a feast that fall in Leviticus 23rd chapter.
Nah,
That's just like Purim. They was having that in Esther, in the book of Esther, because Purim, that's when they were supposed to kill all the Jews on Friday the 13th, but that wasn't the case because Esther had found favor in King Ahasuerus' heart, and Haman was the one that they had hung from his gallows, but that day represented Purim. You know what I mean? So you got some Israelites who keep Purim, but it ain't in the Leviticus 23rd chapter.
It looked like something man-made.
Yeah, Feast of Dedication. Because it says something about Hanukkah.
Yeah, they say something
Yeah.
around 160 BC that it got made.
But it was saying that, and in Jerusalem, the Feast of Dedication, and it was winter. So I mean, I don't consider it was something that the disciples was keeping. You know what I mean? I just look at it as something that was taking place. Even like when you go to the book of Acts, right? Acts chapter 12. Even in Acts chapter 12, shoot, they were celebrating Easter. You know what I mean? This was an event that was going on. Let's read it. Acts chapter 12. And let's pick it up at verse 1. 12 and 1. Go ahead.
Now about that time, Herod, the king, stretched forth his hand to vex certain of the church.
Go ahead.
And he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also.
Go ahead.
Then were the days of unleavened bread.
So unleavened bread was the days. But go ahead, verse 4.
And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quadrants of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people.
So even then, like round unleavened bread. This was what? At the times of the days of unleavened bread. You know what I mean? Like Easter was being celebrated. But to say that, we was partaking in it, no, it was just an event that was going about at the same time. So even like, that could be the case with that Feast of Dedication. You know what I mean? It wasn't that they was partaking in it, because it'd be other locations. It wouldn't just be that one location. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
It'll be another witness to testify into it. Let's see if it is. Where was it at, John? John 10. John 10. Yeah, it would be another location to testify of it, but it ain't even another location. But like in my Bible, right? In my Bible, I got reference points. Like at the bottom, it'll have like reference. It'll say refer you to this. So even when we go and read this Acts chapter 12 talking about Feast of Unleavened Bread, it's referring me back to Exodus 20 and Exodus 12 and Exodus 23. I'm pretty sure that's going to be along the lines of talking about unleavened bread. But I was about to call it a diet. You know what I mean? Just to see what, you know, what it take. You know what I mean?
It definitely was man-made though.
Yeah, cause like I said, I don't heard something about this before. I just don't recall it. But I do know, cause I had Googled it. The dedication is talking about Hanukkah and all that. But what you got, Julie?
I want to know what angels look like.
Oh, okay. All right. And before we go further, hold on. Because I had said something about the scholars in the Bible. I found it in my notes. So I don't want to just leave that out. And I made a statement. See, I got your phone number. Like
No, that's fine.
No, I'll definitely get back with you on that one. But like the brother was saying, Keith, and like it like it's man-made. You know what I mean? Feast of dedication and was winter. It was like something that was going on around the same time as.
I was just making sure that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Just like you said, with the other stuff, you can go back and like you say, you can reference the other stuff to other. 10:20? No, it's John 10:22. What, like with the little stars and stuff? Yeah, they don't say that. That's what he's talking about. That's what he's talking about, the reference.
Oh, you open back up your Bible? Oh.
I get a phone call.
But nah, I mean that's what it looked like for us in this man-made tradition. You know what I mean? I definitely hit you on the horn. You know what? You still got my number? Yeah, you should.
Oh, do I ever get it?
Yeah, I got your number. Call my phone, Brother Mark. But I was talking about, before we go to Julie's question, I was talking about
Yeah, I got it.
Call me right quick, because my phone had erased a lot of my contacts.
Sure.
Right. All right, but the translation, right? It says, educated at Oxford and Cambridge, Tyndale was influenced by the humanist scholar Arminius. This is talking about how the book was put together and the translation. But it says 54 learned men of Oxford and Cambridge. You know, so you had 54 learned men that went to Oxford and Cambridge. They were scholars and clerics from both, you know, the Anglican and the Puritan denominations. So these 54, you know, they was divided amongst one another to actually, you know, you had this number of people put together to deal with, you know, the book of Isaiah, and you had some to deal with, you know, the letters of Paul and so forth and so forth. But, you know, the Apocrypha, you know what I mean, it didn't get caught in the mix. You know what I mean? Like, come on. I mean, of course, you can go and look at what the 1611 King James, but, I mean, even that's a question mark. You know what I mean? So, I mean, in other words, man, it's you know, how the Bible was put together, it was very precise. You know, it wasn't just, oh, let's just do it like this. Even though the Bible itself isn't in chronological order, but at the same time, what books made it into the Bible, you know, that was all on the hand of the Lord. Let's go look at this proverb real quick. Let's go look at this proverb. It says Proverbs chapter. Proverbs chapter. Yeah, Proverbs chapter I'm sorry, Psalm 68. Yeah. Psalm 68. Verse 11. Psalm 68. Verse 11. Go ahead and read that.
The Lord gave the word.
Go ahead.
Great was the company of those that published it.
So great was the company of those that published it. But it says what? The Lord gave the word. So the ones that published it, it just said that what? Great was that company. You know what I mean? Psalm 68 and verse 11. So, you know, how the book was put together, it was all done by the hand of the Lord. But, hey, the books that are put here was all put here for, you know, our ammunition. You know what I mean? It ain't no hiccups in between why they here. They here because, you know, they was put here. So, but your question is angels. How they look?
Yeah.
Let's go over to Ezekiel.
Weird.
Ezekiel chapter 1.
That's what it said in the beginning of the class.
Yeah.
Earlier, they look crazy.
But you know they could change up though.
You
You know what I mean? Like we're gonna look at a couple places, but they natural makeup or they natural look is but I don't know.
It ain't portrayed like how they put it on pictures, like a human face.
Nah. Nah, like the little Cupid, like the little cute little baby
With the little
wings.
with the wings.
Yeah, nah.
Even Job seen on he couldn't tell what it looked like.
Oh, okay. So Ezekiel chapter 1. And let's pick it up at verse 5. Go ahead.
That all flesh may know that I, the Lord,
Ezekiel chapter 1. And verse 5. Nah, you fine, bro.
Verse 5.
Yes, sir.
also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures,
Go ahead.
and this was their appearance.
So the likeness of the 4 living creatures, what's their parents? Go ahead.
They had the likeness of a man,
Go ahead.
and everyone had 4 faces, and everyone had 4 wings.
So they had 4 faces and 4 wings. Go ahead.
And their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot.
So they sold their foot was like a calf's foot. Go ahead.
And they sparkled like the color of burnished brass.
Go ahead.
And they had the hands of a man under their wings,
Keep reading.
on their 4 sides. And they four had their faces and their wings.
Go ahead.
Their wings were joined one to another.
So they had their wings. They all joined to one another. Keep reading.
They turned not when they went. They went everyone straight forward.
So that means they went straight. They ain't turn around. They have to because they got 4 heads or 4 faces. So like they can see on each side. You know what I mean? They can start walking backwards or they can start walking to the side or straight forward. But it said that they didn't turn not. They just walked straight forward. Go ahead.
And for the likeness of their faces, they 4 had the faces of a man,
Go ahead.
and the face of a lion on the right side. And they 4 had the face of an ox on the left side. They 4 also had the face of an eagle.
So I guess in the front was the face of a man. On the side was the ox. On the other side was what, a lion. And then on the back was an eagle. But keep reading though.
Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. 2 wings of every one were joined one to another, and 2 covered their bodies.
Keep going. Verse 12.
And they went every one straight forward.
Go ahead.
Whither the Spirit was to go, they went, and they turned not when they went.
Go ahead.
As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearances was like burning coals of fire.
So their appearance is like burning coals of fire. You know what I mean? Because that's just how, you know, that's how quick they was moving or quick they was coming. But go ahead.
And like the appearances of lamps, it went up and down among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning.
Let's go over here to Daniel real quick. So I mean, that's just, you know, that's just the makeup. You know what I mean? That's why, like, I can imagine when Mary had saw the image, or saw Gabriel, like, she bowed down. She was afraid. That's why he said, "Fear not, Mary, for I have come." You know, even with Daniel, you know what I mean? Daniel was in fear. So, you know, this image,
That's the image they looked at when they approached it, when they approached them.
that could have very well been the case. Like when they approached Mary, they could have, you know,
Looked like that.
they could have. You know what I mean?
That you're scared like that.
Job said his head stood up on his body.
Yeah. Let's go over to Daniel chapter 5. Daniel chapter 5. And let's pick it up at verse 24. I'll pick it up at 23. You go ahead.
But hast lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven, and they have brought the vessels of his house before thee.
Go ahead.
And thou and thy lords, and thy wives and thy concubines have drunk wine in them. And thou hast praised the gods of silver and gold, of brass, iron, wood, and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know. And the God in whose hand thy breath is, and whose are all thy ways, hast thou not glorified.
So we talking about Belshazzar. You know what I mean? Or Belshazzar was the son of Nebuchadnezzar. And like he took the vessels or the holy vessels of God and he started drinking out of them with his concubine. You know what I mean? He tripped. So now check out what the Lord fit is saying in the message of verse 24. Go ahead.
Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written.
So now this a hand. You know what I mean? Like this a hand that's now coming unto him to write a message. Go ahead. Verse 25.
And this is the writing that was written. Me, Tekel,
You're doing good.
Tekel
Forest.
Forest.
I'm gonna call you right back. You heard? You heard? I'm gonna hit you right back. I'm gonna hit you right back. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna hit you right back though. Huh? Hello? You hear me? I said I'm gonna hit you right back. All right, good. Donna and Jeff had the baby late last night. All right, but it says many Tekel Upharsin, verse 26. Go ahead.
This is the interpretation of the thing.
Go ahead.
Meaning, God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it.
Keep reading.
Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances, and art found wanting.
Go ahead.
Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians.
Go ahead.
Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet, and put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him, that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom.
That's it on that. But this hand right now is on the wall. This hand was an angel. Let's go over into this Exodus 23. So what we're just looking at, you know, that of course Ezekiel chapter 1, we see the makeup, but they can change. You know what I mean? They can change, like we just saw in Daniel, they changed what the handwriting that was written on the wall, they changed it to an actual hand. Now let's go look at this burning bush. Exodus chapter 23. So I mean, you know, they have many forms. We even gonna read in Genesis 18 is that they came in the appearance of men. So Exodus 23. And let's pick it up at, what is that Exodus 23? No, it ain't Exodus 23. Exodus chapter. Hold on.
So when he came to Moses.
What's that?
Burning book.
Yeah, it's like Exodus 3.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Exodus 3.
Start with
Yeah, start at verse 1.
Now Moses kept the flock of
So
Jethro.
we're in Exodus 3.
Mhm.
Julie, I don't know what you posted on this. Julie,
Yeah.
we had
Exodus 23.
no Exodus 3.
Exodus 3.
Yeah. I said 23, but I meant to say 3.
Exodus 3.
3 and 1 and verse 2. Go ahead.
Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb.
Go ahead.
And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush.
So this flame of fire was an angel. This burning bush. You know what I mean? Like it says, and the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. Go ahead.
And he looked, and behold, the bush burnt with fire, and the bush was not consumed.
So the bush was not consumed, but we see is that, you know, the burning bush is an angel. You know what I mean? So an angel, it can come in a few different forms. Let's go to Genesis chapter 18. You know, of course, like I said, of course, what the scriptures say is that we see, you know, the natural appearance of the makeup as to what God gave them in Ezekiel chapter 1. But we see in other locations, like what we just read, in that Daniel chapter, and what's that, Daniel chapter 4, we saw is that what? There was a handwriting on the wall. Well, that handwriting on the wall, that was an angel. Now we saw in that Exodus 3, the burning bush, that was an angel. Now let's go look at Genesis chapter 18. Now they finna come in the appearance of men. So Genesis chapter 18, let's pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead, brother.
And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day.
Now this Abraham sitting in the tent door in the heat of the day. What does it say in verse 2?
And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him.
Go ahead.
And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door,
Keep reading.
and bowed himself toward the ground.
So he seen 3 men. One was the Lord, and 2 of them was angels that was company with him. You always seeing the Lord rolling with 2 angels, even though he don't really need them. But I mean, you know, he always rolling with some angels. But all 3 of them, you know, God himself is man. Now his angels, they came in the form as man as well. So we see is that what it says, Abraham standing in the tent door, and he saw the 3 men. One was the Lord, and the 2 were angels. What he said in verse 3 though?
And said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant.
Skip down to chapter 19, and pick it up at verse 4. Because now, you know, the story is concluding into 19 about Sodom and Gomorrah. You know how the Lord to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and he sent the 2 men that was with him to Sodom and Gomorrah. So now 19 and 4. Go ahead and read it, brother.
But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter.
Go ahead.
And they called unto Lot, and said unto him, Where are the men which came indeed this night?
So they're looking for the men. They're looking for these angels that had the appearance of men. So they asking like, where these angels at, or where these men at that came in to you the other night? Go ahead.
Bring them out unto us, that we may know them.
Mm-hmm. They tripping. Yeah, they tripping. You know what I mean? They trying to sleep as an angel. But yeah, they tripping, man. So you know, the angel, man, he got a few different camouflage. You know what I mean? Like he come in the presence of his natural look, or he can come like a hand, or he can come like a burning bush, or he can come like a man. You know what I mean? But Ezekiel chapter 1 shows you, you know, how he got what, 4 faces on one head: the face of a man, a lion, an eagle, and an ox. And he got wings with eyes on him. And he don't even turn around. He backing up, moving to the side, moving forward. And he go like lightning. So, you know, that's good.
How you looking around?
Yeah, I know, huh?
Like you said, give me more angels. Give me more angels.
Any more questions?
What they look like to them then?
Huh?
No, I'm just saying, I wonder what they look like to them dudes.
I know.
They want to know them. Like,
They looked like men. Yeah, because they came in the form of men at this time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That city.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that. I was just saying, drunk, can't see nothing.
They were
Chill
tripping.
dog.
Yeah, they were tripping. Boy.
Go back now.
Brokeback Mountain, shoot, you should have said Moonlight. Moonlight, the new Brokeback Mountain.
I like that.
They made that in Miami. You know about that? The movie called Moonlight. You never seen that? I stopped when I saw what was going on. I was like,
I heard of that movie too.
yeah, they got the boy on the screen with the little paint going down his face, and they got Moonlight written in blue. I'll show you.
Dude and the daddy. His daddy.
Got gold in his mouth.
I ain't seen it, but I know I heard about it like months back or something. Somebody
Yeah,
was saying something about it. I think it was on YouTube or something.
A while ago. It's one of them gay movies.
Yeah. Now, when I heard about it, I was like, I ain't seen it.
No, they truly made it based out of Miami.
Yeah, but he right about that part.
Anybody, any questions? No more questions? Let me see if anything online. Because if not, we can close it up. Close it up, roll it out. It's 6:08. We out here. We out here, boy.
Get back to the snow, man. Can't wait.
100%.
We are 4 hours away. How y'all get snow?
They like on.
Yo, man, got the Appalachian Mountains running back up right now.
Y'all on the west or the east side of Georgia?
The west side.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why. They a little over that way. That's why they still be having light before we do.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we all Central Standard. I mean, we all Eastern Standard, but it's how the sun set.
They set in the west, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they have more light.
Rise in the east and set in the west.
Yeah.
But if we ain't got no more questions, ain't nothing online, we go ahead and close it out.
You better run, you better run.
We go ahead and close it out, brothers and sisters. It's definitely been a pleasure.
One drink.
Huh?
The other drink we had.
They had E40 in them, so I thought, man.
You 40?
40, what do you say? Red. Oh,
Red
green
40,
40,
man.
red 40, blue 40. I don't know. There's a 42 of them.
What's that?
What is that? Mark will explain to you after this.
It's an unclean bug.
It's an unclean bug.
Okay.
An unclean insect. Sometimes, you know, sometimes they can engineer it and use. It's in a lot of red dyes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But sometimes they can engineer where they make it based on how man would make it using natural resources, which I guess don't make it unclean. But then on the other side, they use unclean insects to make the red dye, which would make it unclean. So me, I just don't deal with it at all because I don't know. So I just don't try not. I mean, I don't tripped up one time. I had ate a peppermint. I was like, dang, I got red stripes on. I was like, man, I know it's no. Yeah, you know what I mean. So I'm definitely trying to.
So
do
we can't
better
eat
about it.
peppermints no more?
Huh?
Peppermints got?
You got that red stripe in it. I mean, that's your call.
I ain't know. I ain't know.
You know, I see people. I mean, it's in the
I ain't know.
videos. It's in a lot of.
Stop every time I come down here, y'all ruin something for me to eat.
It's in a lot of.
No, I don't mind saving my life. I'm like,
You
Yeah, that's your call.
But you can see that red.
do Christmas you like, that's your call.
Yeah, it's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Look, stick with traditional food, right?
Go ahead, my brother.
Our Father which art in heaven.
Our Father which art in heaven.
Hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done in earth.
Thy will be done in earth.
As it is in heaven.
As it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Give us this day our daily bread.
And forgive us our debts.
And forgive us our debts.
As we forgive our debtors.
As we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation.
And lead us not into temptation.
But deliver us from evil.
But deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom.
For thine is the kingdom.
And the power.
And the power.
And the glory.
And the glory.
Forever.
Forever.
In Jesus' mighty name.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
For he is good.
For he is good.
And his mercy endures forever.
And his mercy endures forever.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
For he is good.
For he is good.
And his mercy endures forever.
And his mercy endures forever.
In Jesus' name we pray.
In Jesus' name we pray.
The Holy One of Israel.
The Holy One of Israel.
The King of Kings.
The King of Kings.
And the Lord of Lords.
The Lord of Lords.
The one true God.
The one true God.
And there is no other.
There is no other.
In Jesus' name.
Go ahead.
In Jesus' name we pray.
In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen. Hallelujah.
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 In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Seriously,
I gotta
Doritos?
tell you, we close out.
A lot of red people get back to a lot of stuff. That red stuff, red number 10 and 20 and 40.
What else is it?